Welcome to Best in Class. My name is AJ Madden. I have the honor and privilege of helping organizations and individuals become best in class at what they do. I'd like to welcome back Michael Serwa for round three, rare three-time guest on the show. His previous episodes are some of those popular ones I've ever done. So I appreciate you, Michael, coming back. Starting in 2011, Michael has built one of the most successful personal coaching practices in the world. It's number one in the United Kingdom. He has worked with over 500 clients. He has also spoken at around 250 events on a wide variety of personal development and business topics. He has written the book From Good to Amazing, available on Amazon, as well as 100 articles. Michael has been interviewed on a number of TV channels, including the BBC. He was featured in the world's first full-length coaching documentary, Leap. He has also been featured in Forbes, GQ, The Guardian, The Telegraph, Entrepreneur, Luxury London, and Luxury Lifestyle magazine. Michael, welcome back to the show. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me again. This becomes a little bit of a tradition, right? The year doesn't go by without me uh, joining you on your amazing podcast.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's a great point. Didn't think about it like that. Our new annual tradition. And Michael's helped me off camera, certainly. He always teaches me something I didn't know. He's helped me improve my business, my life. I appreciate his friendship, mentorship, energy, expertise. You'll feel it today, as you have the previous episodes if you tuned in. Um, Today we're going to talk about some things that Michael is an absolute expert on. There's no doubt about it, and he's proved it in his own business. And he's also been a great teacher of others on these concepts. We'll talk about personal branding and whether you are a coach, but also a business owner or a CEO or a school teacher. All these things speak in 2026. And Michael's an expert on this. We'll also talk about what it takes to be a great coach because all great leaders are great coaches. Whether you are a CEO, a law enforcement leader, it doesn't matter. All great leaders are great coaches, and Michael's an expert on that. We'll also get some recommendations from Michael on his favorite learning tools, books, documentaries, some mentors he has. I guarantee this is going to be a special episode that you're going to watch twice. So let's start with Michael, just personal branding and positioning, and some things I've heard you talk about, I've learned from you. You have to become a purple cow, which is important. You want to become a colorful character. If you're a
Mm.
coach or a CEO, you have to stand out in an organization. If you want to move up in an organization, you've got to be different. Nobody notices normal. Your personal branding, which I think is just beautiful. Looked at your Instagram before this, and it's Coach for the Elite, Radical Transformations, and No BS. So I think that just that right there, your branding, Coach for the Elite, it just speaks that you are a premium provider. So if you're an executive trying to be CEO, you want to position yourself as a premium choice. Also, radical transformations, which means you are results driven and not just any result, but a radical result, a superior result. And then third, the no BS, which instantly speaks to everyone that this guy will speak the hard truth, not what we want to hear, but what we need to hear, which is a key component of being respected in any leadership position or any career. So again, beautiful positioning. Those three key elements: elite, um, radical results, and no BS. Can you talk about being a purple cow, how we can become purple cows in our career? Again, whether we're a coach or we're trying to become CEO or whatever it is in our personal brand, how can we apply your formula?
Sure. So perhaps one thing we could add um, for additional context, The Purple Cow is the title of one of the books, one of the many books written by Seth Godin. Um, I believe he might have written as many as 20 books. So he's a marketing expert, and he's been teaching people how to market themselves, organizations and people how to market themselves for decades. And this whole premise of Purple Cow is very simple when you think about it. you drive somewhere and you see all those black and white cows, and unless you are in a new country and you don't have cows in your country, so, oh, there's a cow. But even after a while, you see 100 black and white cows, and after a while, you just not that you don't care about them anymore. It's worse than that. You don't see them anymore because they're just black and white cows. It's just a black and white cow. Now imagine all of a sudden you see a purple cow. Think about how many people would stop the car to take a picture, especially younger people, right? And post it on Instagram immediately, right? Because it would be such a unexpected thing, right? So in that book, he talks about how the idea is to become remarkable, meaning worth other people making remark about you, right? And then yeah, it's he goes into the depth of how to become a purple cow after he explains and goes into the depth of the importance of it, right? But looking back at my own career, I started in 2011, as you said. For the first a year and a half, I was very much a black and white cow as a coach. There was nothing unique about me in terms of the way I was. Let me rephrase that because that's not factually accurate. I was unique. Everybody's unique. Um, I was, I suppose, extra unique because of my loud personality and the swearing. I swear a lot naturally. I won't be swearing today on your request, but I naturally swear a lot, and I've always been swearing a lot. Right? This is not, I'm not swearing for the show. When I talk to people, I swear because I swear, and I've always been like that. Right? But my online footprint would not be consistent with who I was as a person, right? Because I didn't know any better, and therefore my website and my online presence, the little presence that I had at the time when I first started, was like everybody else's. There was nothing unique about it, right? And then I remember having this aha moment when um, when I when I've realized, I remember exactly where I was when I had this realization. It was in the living room of the place I used to live in. I had this realization. It wasn't on the back of a conversation with someone. It was just like it just came to me. How? So this is after me coaching for around a year and a half. I was around 30 years old at the time. And the realization was, the aha moment was, nobody criticizes me. And that's a problem. I'm playing it too safe. And this is, this is someone who quit school at 17 in Poland when nobody quit school. Like, I've always been a maverick, right? I didn't know what maverick meant most of my life, but looking back, I've always been a maverick. Yet my website, my online presence, the way I was marketing myself, if we can even call it marketing, it was just like, whatever I was putting out there was just bland, was boring, was predictable, was the vanilla ice cream, right? Vanilla ice cream that not many people hate. I've never met someone who hates vanilla ice cream, but equally, I have never met anyone being really excited about vanilla ice cream. So nobody criticizes it. Well, there will be exceptions, obviously. I'm generalizing, right? Nobody criticizes it, but equally, nobody goes, AJ, you're not gonna believe this. I found this awesome place serving the best vanilla ice cream I've ever had. How many times right? Because it's vanilla ice cream. I like vanilla ice cream. Do I get excited about it? Absolutely not, right? And I had this aha moment and I thought, huh. And then around the same time, I was doing Daniel Priestley's, who was my personal business mentor, but that's a little bit later in my career when I could afford him. But my first contact with Daniel Priestley was between 2012 and 2013 when I was doing one of his group coaching programs. called
Mm.
How to Become a Key Person of Influence. And sure enough, he talks a lot about the importance. So he talks a lot about it now, but I recall him talking about it a lot in 2012 already. Now everybody's talking about the importance of personal brands, creating personal brands, whether you are a coach, a leader, anyone doing anything, right? But Daniel Priestley was talking about it in 2012 already, and he might have been talking about it already before that. I just came across him in 2012, right? Anyway, where I'm going with this, there was this not daily, a day-long workshop, one of the workshops. So this was before they moved to do the work that they do. Those group, he still runs them, but now everything is online since COVID, whatever. But that was, in person, and the mentor that day, whoever that person was, delivering, teaching us on whatever the module was. It's not about that. But anyway, there was an exercise that he asked, was a guy, he asked us to do in pairs, to pair up with the person next to us. It was like around 50 of us in the group. And to do this exercise, and part of this exercise was to ask each other what's unique about our businesses, about us, our businesses, etc. Mind you, this wasn't a group coaching thing for coaches. This was a group coaching thing for entrepreneurs in general, business owners in general, right? So there was a mixture of people from different industries. This guy called Paul, bless him, he is in a property industry, right? We knew each other a little bit by then, but he didn't know me very well. He never experienced my coaching. Certainly, he wasn't a client or anything like that. But we knew each other a little bit, just like from doing the same group coaching program, right? And he said, Michael, do you want to go first? Paul, the question was like, what's unique about you and your business, right? And it's like, you want to go first? And I have nothing to say because at that time, I'm the black and white cow. My website looks like everybody else's websites in my industry. And I said, Paul, I don't know, like, what's unique about me? I don't know. I just don't know. And he goes, you are the no bullshit coach. And as soon as he said that, I felt it to be true. It was just so obvious because I've always been that no bullshit person. So when he said you are the no bullshit, I was like, yeah, yeah, okay, okay, right. And mind you, this is I can't remember exactly, but that was soon after I had that thought in my head I've shared before, which is nobody criticizes me. I'm playing it too safe. Um,
Mm.
I don't take enough risks, etc. within my business. So it was just perfect timing, right, of us having this conversation, this workshop and this conversation. Anyway, I thought, this is very interesting. What I'm gonna do, so the next day, the following day, I asked five favorite clients I had at the time, without telling them why I'm asking them that question, not to influence their answers. I asked them, I said, I'm doing this business coaching program, and I just have a quick question. What are the five single words you would use to describe me as a coach? Like my coaching style, me as a coach, etc. Right? And lo and behold, AJ, most of them came back with things like direct, straight to the straight to not so much straight to the point, straightforward. So someone said, nobody said no bullshit, but someone said, one person said no nonsense. So basically, I got a confirmation
Mm.
that the no bullshit thing could be my thing, right? So coming back to my bio, the way I look at it, the coach for the elite came a few years later, right? So the no bullshit coaching in terms of my style came first. The coach for the elite came much later when I've already properly made it as a coach, right? I didn't think for a second over the first few years of me being a coach, especially given that I was very young for a life coach. I was 28 when I started. So I didn't think that calling myself something like coach for the elite when I was 29. I was coaching for 12 months, was even in a vicinity of being appropriate and factually accurate, right? Like anybody can call themselves, I can call myself a genius. It doesn't make me a genius, right? So just because someone calls themselves something doesn't make it so, right? So that came later, but the way I look at it now, and you know me well, so you know that this is like, oh, this one day I thought about a bunch of words and I just wrote it down and I never looked at it again and it just stayed there for years. And every single comma on my website has been carefully considered. A comma. Is this the best placing of the comma in this sentence? Or shall I perhaps, and not only I'll be taking the time to think about things like that myself, I will also run it by ChatGPT, and I also have two full-time advisors,
Mm,
and all of those things are being considered collectively by the four of us if we count ChatGPT as an entity, right?
mm,
Um, so the coach for the elite, this is who I work with. And just to be clear, by elite, I certainly don't mean elite in terms of background, in terms of education. I'm a high school dropout from Poland. Imagine me saying, I only work with Ivy League graduates. Um, and people with a royal blood, running through the veins. So if you don't meet this criteria, go somewhere else, right? So this is nothing to do the elite thing, the way I see it. Nothing to do with upbringing, nothing to do with education. It's about the mindset. It's about the attitude. It's about being someone. I don't care. I don't even ask half of the time. I don't know who I'm going to have an initial consultation with, which is the first step before I end up working with someone or not working with them. Sometimes it depends, but that's always the first step, the initial consultation. AJ, half of the time, I don't know who this person is until I already send them my availability. We book that consultation in my diary and their diary, and only later I ask them for a link to the LinkedIn purely so I can check them out before they come in. So that I don't need to waste the time and the energy asking them obvious questions that I could get the answers to before as part of the preparation for this consultation, right? Meaning that I could have a guy working in McDonald's, not owning five McDonald's,
mm,
a guy working in McDonald's, because half of the time people just say, "Hi, Michael, can you please send me your availability for consultation?" John. That's all I know. Sure, yeah. As long as they approach me in a manner like that, as in they will say hi, because if they don't say even hi, then it's like just delete, right? So it's not like, oh, anyone, but anyone who approaches me in a manner that um, conveys the basic level of intelligence and manners will get sent my availability within 24 hours, typically much faster, within hours typically, but never longer than, never beyond 24 hours, right? So there's never a case of uh, before I send you my availability, eh, can you tell me about yourself? What's your net worth? Are you sure you
mm,
can afford my fees, right? And I'm not saying for any coaches listening, I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with pre-qualifying your prospective clients before you meet them. It's just not something I've ever done, and I don't think I will ever do that. And it's back to what I was saying before, which is I would much prefer working with a guy or a person. I work with 50% of my clients are female. Uh, I would much prefer to have an initial consultation and potentially working with someone who works in McDonald's. They're 22, they work in McDonald's, but they are like me when I came to London with nothing at 22. So someone who had nothing in terms of tangible stuff, in terms of money, in terms of the ability to speak English particularly well, um, but had the attitude, as
mm,
in I had the right attitude. I knew I'm gonna make it. I spent 27 hours on the bus from Poland because I couldn't afford the flight, but I knew I'm gonna make it. I was a lead. Looking back, I can see clearly I was a lead in the way I think my whole life. These are the kind of people I look for, right? And I would much rather have an initial consultation which can last easily 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours. The longest was 6.5. I would much rather, and I don't charge for them, but it's okay because I'm loving it. I like
Hmm.
every time I meet a person with elite mindset, I'm having a great time. Right? I don't get paid for it. I'm loving every minute of it, right? So I
Hmm.
would much rather spend this time with this 22-year-old working for McDonald's who comes in and says, um, "This is how old I am. This is what I do right now, but this is my vision. This is my goal. I don't have the money to work with you, but I'll get the money. I can't afford to work with you. I'm gonna do it anyway." I have one client like that right now. She couldn't afford to work with me. She works with me anyway. She, her name is Georgie. She's awesome. She got her mother to, you know, yeah. Because I mentioned her first name, I'm not gonna go into detail, but like, yeah, between her and her mother, they found a way to finance it because she believed that this investment is gonna pay off. She believed in she bet on herself. This is not about me. I'm under no illusion that when people come to me, it's about me and my coaching. It's like because I'm so great, right? It's first and foremost because this person believes in themselves and their ability to get a return on investment on working with me to the point where in extreme cases like the one I mentioned, they will finance it somehow. They'll find a way, right? So much rather spend, so this is not extreme, but like I would much rather speak to a 22-year-old working at McDonald's with a vision, with elite mindset, someone who's prepared to do whatever it takes to make something happen, than with some bored out of his bum. I promise not to swear, so I'm saying bum. Bored out of his bum lawyer, Oxford graduate. I don't care. I don't care which uni you went to, right? That doesn't, as far as that doesn't make you elite just because you graduated from Oxford or Cambridge. Doesn't make you elite. That's not how I perceive it, right? So you might see yourself as elite. The society might see you as elite, but to me, you might have graduated from Oxford, but you might have a loser mentality, which is obviously the opposite of having the elite mentality of someone who is like, I know what I don't know,
Hmm.
I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen, whatever it is that I want to achieve, right? Give me that person anytime, right? And I will do everything in my power to make us working together possible. I've said that to people many times. I've said to people how during the initial consultations how I have this rule, which I do, and the rule is if I really want to work with someone and I believe I can feel, not just because they said it, I feel that they really want to work with me, money cannot stop us. Because let's don't forget, just like yourself, I never got into it for the money. I
Hmm.
made 34K turnover in my first full year of coaching in 2012. I would go back to that before changing careers. Even if this is gonna sound, I might lose some listeners with the next statement, but that's okay. I'm gonna say it anyway. Um, Given two options, going back to making 34K as a coach and making 10 times more money than I make right now as a coach, doing something else other than coaching, I wouldn't even have to think about it. It's not even, let me think about it for a second. Let me sleep on it. Let me
Yeah.
talk to ChatGPT and my advisors about it. No, because I never got into it for the money. It's not a profession you get to for the money. If you get to this profession for the money, you will never make a lot of money from it. I have
Right.
never seen an exception to that.
That's
Right?
right.
14.5 years in the game, right? Now, coming back to my bio. So, coach for the elite. This is who I work with. Radical transformations. What is it that I'm interested in doing for my clients? Am I interested in improving my clients' lives? Absolutely not. Was I interested in that when I first started? Sure, I was happy to improve someone's life by 5%. But that's 2011, 2012, 2013. Now, improvement is of no interest to me. And what I say to my prospective clients, if the chemistry is right, if I want to work with them, I say to them, Transformation is what you can expect as the worst case scenario. But that's not the name of the game here. That's not my goal here. My goal here is radical transformation. And I haven't been saying those things, uh, certainly not for the first few years of me coaching, but not even the middle section, if you will, right? Like the year 4 to 8. It's only the last few years, maybe 5, 6 years, when I I've gained enough experience. I've seen enough transformations, including many, 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 many radical transformations unfolding in front of my eyes to get to the point where I can say that to someone, knowing that I'm not a sleazy salesman just saying whatever I need to say to make a sale, right? As a policy, I don't say things unless I mean it, good or bad, right? So I'm not gonna say something mean to someone unless I mean it just because you want to hurt them, or not that I do that. I'm just trying to make a point. Not that I do that a lot. But equally, I'm not gonna say you look good unless I think you look good. I'm not gonna say I like your shoes unless I like your shoes. And if you ask Michael, what do you think about my shoes? If I don't like them, I would say not my type. You ask a question, so don't ask the no bullshit coach a question unless you are certain you are ready to handle the answer. That's my logic there, right? So I would say to people, radical transformation, right? And if you cooperate, all I need you to do is to cooperate. Say to people, hey, all I need to do is cooperate. I don't need you to help me to structure the sessions, the program. I know what I'm doing, right? I'm gonna lead the process from start to finish. All I need you to do is to pay that invoice so we can start, show up to the sessions, fasten your seatbelt, and just trust me and trust the process. And if you do that, and mind you, that I wouldn't say that to just about anyone. This is me saying it to people that I know based on a long initial consultation and the history of success typically, which I know about by then, right? Because I've seen the LinkedIn, I've seen what they achieved, and I speak to them, and I know that we have the right amount of chemistry, which is absolutely necessary, as you've learned, I'm sure, quite
Sure.
quickly when it comes to achieving great things. You can be the best coach on the planet. You can be working with the most coachable person on the planet. But if you guys don't click, if there's no chemistry, it's like dating. You can be a perfect candidate for a husband. She can be a perfect candidate for a wife, but in
Mm.
theory, but if the chemistry is not there, forget about it, right? So that's the radical transformation bit. And then yeah, as you know, I talked about it already. The no bullshit coaching it's my style of coaching. So I work with the elite clientele. The name of the game, the only thing I'm interested in is radical transformation. I want my clients to be permanently transformed. And I added the word permanently there because I say to people, the goal is not only for you to get from, let's say, 4 out of 10 on the happiness level to 8 out of 10, but equally importantly, if not even more importantly, for you to get there and stay there, hence the permanent transformation. Because when you think about it, unless we work with someone and the transformation that takes place is permanent, that's like, if that's not the case, that would be like working with the personal trainer slash nutritionist. They present you, you want to lose weight, let's say you want to lose a bunch of kilos or stones, whatever. And then they present you with one of those magic diets.
Mm.
And yes, you lose those 20 kgs in 6 months and you feel happy, but then you put it back on.
All right. Well, that's good example.
Would that be a successful outcome? Not to me. Oh, because the trainer could say, well, I made you lose 20 kgs. Yes, but you didn't teach this person how to not put it back.
Right.
So you haven't permanently changed them. You've changed them for a short period of time. So like the short-term transformation, again, I'm not interested in that, right? And
Mm,
I know that because I've seen it over and over again. I know because it's like, okay, but what's your process? Like how many hours you spend with clients, like how long are your coaching programs? Don't worry about it. Like it's that's irrelevant, right? That's irrelevant, right? Yes, it's approximately 25 hours in total, because for the most part, I am giving myself around 25 hours. That's like in conversations with clients, and then they all have 24/7 access to me, 365 via WhatsApp as well. But around 25 hours in conversation, not in one go, with
mhm,
I don't want anybody to die on me, but spread over a bunch of months, whatever. I'm giving myself around this amount of time to have an opportunity to say one sentence, because sometimes all it takes is one sentence, or to ask one question, or to give a client an opportunity to say one thing, after which, whether it's something I say, they say, whatever, after which nothing will ever be the same for them. They will just not be the same person again, like ever again. And I don't care if they're 20, 30. I had clients in the teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, two clients in the 70s. And especially when you consider me working with someone occasionally who's, in mid 20s, early 20s, I've had, I don't know, at least 10, maybe 15 clients as young as that, two teenagers. My goodness, if if I have the power, as I've learned, if I have the power to say one sentence to a 20-year-old or 25-year-old or 45-year-old, if I have this power, and what gives me that power is not because I'm so powerful, it's because I'm in a position of authority relative to my clients. And how do I know that? Because they wouldn't hire me, they wouldn't want to work with me unless they saw me as authority figure in the context of what we're talking about. Of course, they don't see me as authority figure when it comes to cooking or
mm,
driving, which
mm,
I cannot do, right? But they come to me for life coaching. I'm a life coach. So in this context, they see me as authority figure. I use that place of authority to say stuff that will lead to their lives becoming better as a consequence. And I feel so privileged that I have this power. I know that if it's not going to happen. Maybe if I experience some, I don't know, minor brain injury, I know that I could use this power to, to start a church, and not a good one, but, become a spiritual a leader of some sort, right? And start a cult. I know that, I know I would do well, but luckily for the world, that's the very last thing on my the very last item on my to-do list, right? To use my power of persuasion and conviction for anything other than making people's lives better. Right? Not just clients, right? If I could say something, to a cab driver or a waiter, it's not I don't go out of my way to coach non-client, but sometimes there's a conversation and I think of something, I'll just say it, and I know that some of the things I've said to non-clients as well, on occasion were life changing for people as well. So like I understand I have this, I wouldn't say a gift because that would be like saying, oh, this classical pianist plays so well. What a gift he or she has. Well, they've been practicing like crazy for the last 14 and a half years. So is it a gift or is it a product of, so like yes, I do recognize I had a strong foundation for doing what I'm doing, right? So a strong set of people skills, a natural interest in people, curiosity about people, love for people. Let me go as far as that, because it's true. Love for people, not for everybody. Oh, I do say that I love everyone. I just don't like everyone. So I like everyone. Sorry, I love everyone, every human being, just about, with the exception for dictators, perhaps. But I certainly don't like everyone. And as I was saying before, excuse me, for the coaching to have any chance of producing radical transformation, liking my client a little bit is not enough. I love my clients. I don't like my clients. I love my clients. Like my clients today, I work with around 10 people at any given time these days. I love every single one of them. I don't have children, and I'm not saying they're like my children, but my parental instincts, if you will, certainly come into play. And I don't care if it's a younger client or older client. My oldest client right now, he's 62. I feel as parental about him as I feel about my youngest client, who is 28, right? So it's not about age, and it's certainly not about me putting myself here, and speaking to people from a high horse, like I'm better than them. I'm absolutely not better than them. I'm not better than anyone, right? That is how I see it. But I certainly am an authority figure in the context of what I do. And like I said, I use that authority, that place of authority, to make as much positive impact on my clients' lives as humanly possible. And I will be coming up with ideas left, right, and center. And I would go on and talk, similar to how I'm answering your question, from half an hour ago still. I would go on and on and on, and sometimes my clients will go on and on and on, and I will listen, and then I will talk, and I will listen, and then we'll just have those conversations for hours and hours and hours. And like I said before, all it takes sometimes is just one sentence. One sentence. I have a client right now. She came to me after taking Coke uh, every day, roughly. And when I say taking Coke, I'm not talking about a line or two. I'm talking about a gram of Coke on
Mm,
average for 18 months.
mm,
I didn't say that during the initial consultation, even though I absolutely predicted that's what's going to happen, because I didn't want to make a promise that I couldn't possibly be certain that I'm going to be able to keep. So I was just speaking confidently how I believe I'll be able to help her kick that habit once and for all. And sure enough, what I predicted is that she will not touch Coke after the first session already. We have a set of 6 sessions. We had two out of, I'm seeing her tomorrow actually. We had 2 out of 6 already, but I knew I'm not going to need 6 sessions.
mm,
I'm going to have 6 sessions with her. We're going to have all this time together, so we can work on other things as well, and I can help her to stay good, if you will. But my plan from the start was to do whatever I need to do during that first session that we had approximately 2 months ago. That will allow her to come out of that meeting and not even think about taking the drug. Right? And I'm not anti-drug. There's a time and place for everything, but there's a difference between uh, taking Coke at the party when you are 20 and taking a gram of it every day for 18 months in your 30s as a mother, and right. So there's I made that very clear to her as well, is that I'm not against drugs. Like there's a time and place for everything. Well, maybe except for like the really, really heavy drugs. But come on, So anyway, so I've tried different angles, and I knew that all I need is for one angle to land, for one of the things I say to land, and sure enough, one of them did. And lo and behold, the last time she had Coke was the night before our first session, which was approximately 2 months ago. And I'm very confident, I think she is by now as well, that she will never touch it for the rest of her life. Right. And it's not like, oh, I'm such a powerful, coach, or like, look at me. To me, this is first and foremost about the power of coaching, a power of leadership, how one human being can affect another human being, given that the conditions are being met, the conditions that allow for that transfer of conviction. You've mentioned that we touched on it already before we started recording, right? Um, in my head, to use that as an example, still this female client of mine, in my head, I was convinced, and I still am, that she shouldn't be taking it ever. Convinced, not just like, I don't think it's a good idea. Well, I believe this is not the right thing to do. I was convinced, and I have transferred that conviction. I hit her in the face with that conviction,
mm,
right? And because she's a smart woman, I don't work with idiots. So, there's definitely a link between the transformations and rather, idiots as in like people who are just either close-minded or just thick, right? She was smart enough to be able to receive it, right? To see the logic behind what I was saying. That as a barrister, a lawyer would do in a courtroom, I build my case. I build my case. In this case, the case being, this is not good for you. You know it. You need to stop, and you need to stop immediately.
mm.
There's absolutely no scenario in which you're gonna continue with this addiction. Have a glass of wine or two if you want to have something, right? Act like a grown up. Like I've used all sorts of things, right? And I'm sure she did not enjoy hearing some of them. I don't care
Mm.
because my commitment is to transformation, not to pleasing my clients, not to
That's
telling
important.
them what they want to hear. If you want that, talk to ChatGPT. It will always tell you all the similar. They will always tell you what you want to hear. Unless you put in a settings that that's not what you want. But if you don't, by default, they will always tell you how amazing you are, and don't worry about like it's okay. You've been taking Coke for 18 months, but it's okay. Like nobody's perfect. It's like no,
Mm.
no more. Right? And this is just a recent example. We could spend hours here. I mean, giving you similar examples from the last 14 and a half years, right? Um, but that's what I'm interested. That's what excites me about every single client I take on, every single case, if you will, I take on. What excites me is not this, not a suspicion. It's way more than suspicion. What's the word? It, 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 the fact that I know that it's borderline, it's almost inevitable that a transformation will occur.
Mm.
And it's highly, highly likely that it won't be just a transformation, back to what I was saying before, but it will be a radical one as well. And it will be permanent.
Mm.
How can I not love what I do? How can I see it as work? My dad, before we move on, my dad asked me last year, we were talking about the phone, and he's in Poland, and he's 73. Uh, um, he asked me if because he obviously knows what I do. That I work for myself, I pay my own taxes, etc. He asked me if I have a pension fund, if I pay monthly to a pension fund, etc. Right, which is a completely fair question, right? I recognize that, right? And I said no, which is true. No, why would I need a why would I need to do that or want to do that? So you have a pension when you retire. And I said, retire from what? He said, it's like, it's like two people speaking in different languages, right? Retire from what? From work. What work?
Mhm.
The work that you do. That I haven't worked in 14 and a half years. I will never retire from it. There's a, given how many hours in a week I spend with my clients, there is a slight possibility that I might die during a coaching session. or initial consultation. And like I don't wish that for the prospective client or client because that would be traumatic for them. I'm sure. That's not that, ideally that's not going to happen, but like absolutely no intention of retire. From what? From working with these amazing people with elite mindset, right? Every single one of them, no exception, elite mindset. Some are very well educated in the traditional sense. Some have no education, like myself, working class background, upper middle class, royal, you name it. I don't care. But every single one of them, elite mindset. And I have those typically series of conversations with them, because that's what coaching is, right? A series of conversations with them, as a result of which their lives transform often beyond recognition. And I get paid for it somehow. Like, how is that even, how is that even, and not just paid for it, but paid for it so handsomely that neither myself or my family in Poland, my parents, my sister, and her family, need to ever think about money or worry about money. Not that I have a collection of Ferraris outside. I don't drive, as we established. I don't care about uh, cars. I care about other things, less expensive things, thank God. But and I'm not sitting here on millions, but I'm comfortable, right? And it's like I said before, it's never been about the money, right? And I don't know about you, AJ, but when I speak to a service provider of any kind, it's not that hard to tell who loves what they do. I exclusively work with people, other service providers, who love what they do. Because when you think about it, especially when you live in a big city like London, how many dentists are here? I don't know. I'm gonna take a guess, 5,000, 10,000 dentists. They're all qualified. Some of them will be better than the others, but let's say 1,000 of them will be really, really good at what they do. But what I love about James, my dentist, is that not only he's great at what he does, he also loves what he does. And I can feel it. And especially when you go to see a dentist, I like the fact that we're gonna have a bit of a chit chat before we start, and then no, I'm unable to speak in a minute or two. But he's as enthusiastic about what he does as I am about coaching, and that makes the whole experience so much better, right? He's the coming back, closing the loop. He's the purple cow when it comes to dentistry.
Mm.
And sure enough, as I've learned, because I've coached some dentists, I don't think there's a dentist in the UK who doesn't know who James is because he has a strong personal brand, right? And in his case, he's not a no bullshit dentist or anything like that, but he has a unique personality, which we all have a unique personality, but the difference is, I know I'm sidetracking. The difference is whether or not we are willing to show it. Because I
Right.
believe we all
Okay.
have unique personality, right? But it's about having, because I had a unique personality for the first year and a half of coaching, but I didn't show it. I didn't show it. I was just, you know, I was playing it small, right? I didn't say, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And sure enough, back to what I was saying about this realization that I had that nobody was criticizing me. Believe me, AJ, when I became the quote unquote no bullshit coach and I started speaking my truth, I got my fair share of critics. And I've maintained that throughout my career. And I see that as a little reminder that I'm on the right track. The moment I start getting criticized, I'm gonna have to rethink what I'm doing. Because I'm like, whoa, are you becoming lazy or complacent or comfortable? Are you losing the edge? What are your critics? Oh, nobody criticizes me anymore. That's not good.
Mm.
That's not good. If nobody criticizes you, it's not because you are this perfect specimen. There are no perfect specimens, perfect humans. It just means that you are not allowing yourself to play full out. I encourage anyone listening to play full out, starting today, starting after finish listening to this conversation. Little by little. Don't expect for you to go from, if you are someone who is very much living within your shell to come out completely and to just go 180 from one day to another. That's not going to happen. Little by little, little by little. Try to catch yourself when you think of something but you don't say it. Obviously there are times and places such as an interview, such as the first date, such as when you talk to your boss, if you have a boss. There are times and places where I don't say exactly what I'm thinking. Like today, how many times I wanted to say the F word, but I didn't because I know that you don't like swearing on your podcasts, right? Because it's our third round, and I know that, right? So it's not like, oh, I always say exactly like, no, there is time and place to edit ourselves a little bit, right? But but if you said to me, when we met for the first time, and you said to me, okay, so if you could not swear, that would be great. If you could give me very short answers for all the questions. If you could also stand on your head while we record, I'll be like, this is not gonna work for me. So it's like where do you draw the line, right? It's like compromising a little bit, sure, but also knowing when someone is asking for too much, and then what you want your authenticity, you want your sense of who you are to kick in and say, that's not okay with me.
Hmm.
That's not okay with me. I'll give you a quick example before we move on. Um, I had a date here a few months ago. This French girl, our first date, we're about to get down to business, and I'm playing this playlist, and she goes, and mind you, very, very, how to put it, female friendly, nothing. I wasn't like, I like my jazz and classical, but I don't play jazz or classical on dates because I don't expect my dates to love Stravinsky as much as I do, right? So I don't want to put them through that. So I'm just playing like pop music, pop R&B playlist, whatever, right? Something very. And there is this song which doesn't matter what the song is, but just a normal pop song, right? And without me asking, obviously, it's my house, my speaker. She goes, I don't like this song, like this. And mind you, she's at my place. Obviously, I find her attractive, right? Like, we're about to, uh, and I have wine in my system and everything, but she goes, I don't like this song. And I was in a good mood. I was in a bad mood. Like I'm rarely in a bad mood. I'm on a date, like things are going well. This is like, I'm gonna have some good time. And then she says this one thing in my own house. And I say to her, one, I didn't get upset or anything like that. I haven't, which not the end of the world, right? But ideally, when you say what you want to say, you want to maintain your frame of composure, coolness, and collectiveness and composure. So I didn't get upset. She didn't upset me. I just said to her very calmly, I said two things. One, I didn't ask you for your opinion. Two, why don't you go home and listen to whatever music you want to listen to? We're done. She was like, Michael, like, I can't do accents, but with a strong French accent, bless her. Michael, come on. Like she was trying to like convince, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, it's just okay. I said, no, no, I said, listen, the mood is gone. And I wasn't
Hmm.
trying to make a point. I wasn't trying to, look at me. I'm so I just, it's like, no, like it's unacceptable. Like I didn't, no. And I didn't explain myself. It was just the end of the date. She tried everything to make me change my mind. She didn't just leave. But I was like, no, right? So now the questions, so why am I sharing this story? The question you want to ask yourself, dear listener, how often you want to say something like that to someone, how often you want to say no to someone's behavior, certain behavior, or you want to communicate your preference, that would be like the opposite, your preference to someone, but for whatever reason, you don't do it. That's you not being true to yourself. That's you not being authentic.
Mm.
And I've been exercising this. I've been the way I am my whole life. And I'm 43 right now. And no matter how I look at my life, no matter from what angle I look at my life, or anybody who knows me looks at my life, would look at this life and say, this is a good life for this particular person. It's different. It's unusual, unorthodox in many ways, but it's a 10 out of 10 life, meaning that one can be true to themselves and still build a 10 out of 10 life for themselves. It's not a zero sum. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. It's not like, oh yeah, but you gotta be realistic. I mean, you can't if you want to like, coming back to this example, if she was the only woman on the planet, I would just suck it up and just, you know, maybe even change the song. Because if she was, but she wasn't or she isn't the only woman on the planet, right? So when you approach the life from a place which, and that's another thing I encourage you to do, anybody listening, from a place of abundance, like, okay, if it's not this one, it's going to be somebody else. If it's not this client, prospective client, becoming a client, it's going to be somebody else. If it's not this house, oh, I like this house, but somebody bought it before I got a chance, or somebody rented it out before it's going to be another house, even better than this one. Don't worry about it, right? Having this mindset of there is abundance of everything out there, money, love, cars, whatever it is that you are interested in, whatever it is that you care about. And you can 100%, quote unquote, afford to be true to yourself and still get all the things that you want in life. I guarantee you that. And how do I know that? First of all, what I just said, which is I have both that commitment to being true to myself and a great life. It took me many years to build it, but I built it eventually. It's not just that, I've seen that with my clients.
Mm.
I know I'm not an exception to the rules. Like I'm the only one. Like I know, like I've seen it, right? I would put you in the same category, AJ.
I
Right?
appreciate
So
it.
like this is two of us, right? So it's like I know. Well, I like to think anyway. You didn't go, oh, you've just criticized a song I played in my house on the first date, but that's okay. Let me change the song. Like I no, that's like maybe you wouldn't be as extreme in your delivery as blunt in your delivery as I am, because the bluntness kind of comes as a package deal when you're Eastern European, right? So it's not that hard to find a blunt Eastern European person, right? Especially a male Eastern European, right? So it's definitely cultural, at least partially cultural, like where I grew up and where I came from. But you don't need to be Polish to be brutally honest with people. You don't need to be Polish or Eastern European to be assertive. We can all become more assertive. I'll be more assertive 5 years from now than I am now. And I will look at my level of assertiveness today and be like, that was nothing yet. Like I
Mm.
know I will be more assertive, more confident, uh, happier. I don't know if I can be happier because I'm already whatever, very happy. But I'm work in progress, right? And whether it's a personal brand, whether it's the things I write in the bios on my social media platforms, on my website, whether it's the way I I act around strangers, prospective clients, dates, men, women, doesn't matter. Younger people, older people. I'm refining. It's like a lab. Like this is a lab, not experiment, but like I'm in a lab and I'm like a scientist and I have one of those white coats and I'm like, oh, if I say it like this, how that's going to resonate with this person. If I say it like this, how, and then pattern recognition and then just refining. Because as much as she annoyed me with her comment, I didn't want to make her feel bad. If I wanted to, I would, right? Like I had the power, as in like I could say, I could call her names. I didn't. I didn't. I just peacefully ended the date because it's just not my style to, I could call her, I could do whatever I wanted, right? I mean, like you can say anything you want to another person. I don't want to hurt her feelings. I just ended the date because what she said, the way she said it, what she said and how she said it was unacceptable for me, right? It's like, oh, you are so petty. Like it's just a song. It's just okay. That's your choice. Like you decide. We all decide what our acceptable threshold is. I know what mine is, and I exercise it every day. And if I don't, I beat myself for not doing it. And that's the difference between how assertive I am today versus how assertive I'm going to be 5 years from now.
I think I don't think I know. There's definitely things that anyone listening can take away in terms of their personal brand. And a personal brand is not your logo on your website, oh, that's part of it. It's not necessarily your social media, that's part of it. It's what people say about you when you're not around. It's your reputation. So if you're in a leadership position or just in general, having the courage to set a standard of attitude, effort, and behavior, and that's the no BS part, to shoot straight and set that standard of what's acceptable and what's not. Whether you're talking to your client or your employee, if you're a leader, there's a standard there of no BS, and you can have a personal brand, a reputation of this person shoots straight with people and is honest, always lets people know where they stand for good or for bad. That's no BS. That's the type of personal brand you want to have in general. You'll be respected, you'll be notable, and you'll be appreciated in the long run. When you're doing it the way Michael's doing it, okay, this is not acceptable for me. There's a standard here of what I accept and don't accept in terms of manners and politeness and respect or whatever it is, performance. Then there's the component of coach for the elite, and Michael defined it as elite attitude, elite mindset, not pedigree, not IQ, not where you went to school. There's a standard of thinking that Michael lives and sets for the people around him, which elevates everyone ultimately. And then there's the radical transformation part, which is essentially leaving everyone better than you found them. You should want that reputation in life to not just leave them a little better, but to leave them a lot better. And that's the radical transformation part. So you can apply any of these things to your own personal brand. Again, that's your reputation, what people say about you when you're not around. And yes, that could apply to your website or your social media or however you want to expand on it. But ultimately, it's how you live. It's an extension of how you live. This is your reputation. This is how you do one thing, is how you do all things, as Michael and I talked about before that we started recording. Now, in terms of radical transformation, now we segue into being all great leaders are great coaches. They're great teachers, whether it's Nick Saban in football or Steve Jobs at Apple or Admiral William McRaven, who was a Navy SEAL and one of the greatest living experts on leadership. It's all the same. They're all great teachers. They're great coaches. They elevate people. They transform people that follow them. And there's a few key components I've learned from Michael. We've talked about this. He's talked about it. He's written about it that make a great coach. And what he touched on it, some of these things earlier in this conversation. But we can, one, define what a radical transformation is. And maybe if you can give us some examples of what, three radical transformations are, people you've worked with, your clients. And then also a few examples of maybe that one sentence paradigm shift, that breakthrough Another key component of Michael's work is that one simple action he gets people to take. And then also there's that transfer of his conviction so people behave in a fearless manner. It's that beautiful cocktail that all the greatest coaches do. All the greatest teachers, CEOs, whether it's Steve Jobs or Nick Saban or William McRaven or Marshall Goldsmith from executive coaching, there's the action step, simple action step. There's a transfer of self-conviction. There's teaching people to be fearless, act fearlessly, which ultimately leads to that radical transformation. And also that one sentence paradigm shift. That one sentence paradigm shift that could make someone fearless, more confident, take the action step. Can you give us three examples of radical transformation so we can understand what you mean by that with your clients? And then just some examples of that one sentence paradigm shift, those breakthroughs that you've given. This is so important, I think.
The first one I recall was coaching for maybe 2 years. So no radical transformations that I can recall within the first 2 years of me as a coach. Just like when we look at Mozart, for example, yes, he's been composing stuff from the age of 5 or something, right? But he's often referred to as genius. Without a question, he was a genius. But you see, only the second part of his life, the things he produced in the second part of his life, has that quote unquote genius status.
Mm.
Because I don't care who you are, you will not, in the world of classical music, which I'm a big fan of, I don't care who you are, you're not gonna compose a masterpiece at 5 or 10. It's not even about the age, it's about how you need to get enough reps in so you can become proficient enough in whatever language it is that you use, in his case, music, obviously, to create masterpieces, right? So he had to get those suboptimal symphonies and sonatas and all sorts of work out of his system before he could start producing masterpieces, before he had the tools to produce masterpieces, right? So the first 2 years, I don't recall any transformations, even let alone radical transformations. Lots of improvements here and there, right? But also, mind you, that the caliber of the people I was working with at the time was very different to the caliber of people I've been working with over the last decade, let's say. I started at 20 pounds per session, right? Which means that just about anyone could work with me. And also, I wasn't selective about who I was working with at all, meaning that sometimes I had very, um, let's just say, questionable chemistry with a client, right? It's never been the case of like, I really dislike this person, or I can feel that they really dislike me. But I certainly wouldn't say that I loved every single person I've worked with. I said before that I love every single client I have right now. And I can say that I love every single person I've worked with over the last few years, but that certainly wasn't the case when I first started, right? So the first transformation, radical transformation I can think of is a 24-year-old girl who was in a sexless, loveless relationship with this guy for 4 years. They were living together. Anyway, long story short, when I gathered enough information during the first session, first out of six, that the guy was a loser who was also not working and living off her inheritance money. She had some, not a huge amount, but she had some inheritance money, and she was studying, and she had some money, and he was basically living off her, older than her. Not on my watch. Now that's an absolute no-go. And obviously I established that he was physically healthy, because if she told me he was in a wheelchair, well, like that's a different set of circumstances, right? But once I got all the information I needed to arrive to a very clear conclusion that a guy is a loser and this relationship shouldn't be a relationship, right? And sure enough, she told me how she tried to leave him a few times, but he always found his way in, and I could see why, because she was and still is. We're still in touch. She's a very good person, and he was basically using that, as a way in. He would guilt her into, um, uh, taking him back each time, right? So anyway, end of the first session, most of my sessions with clients end with a action plan of some sort.
Mm.
So we talk, we talk, we talk, we talk, we talk, we talk. I typically do most of the talking. Um, I don't think that's very surprising to anybody listening. So I do a lot of talking. Sometimes my clients do more talking than I do, which is rare. Sometimes it's more of a 50-50. It depends of the person, right? So we talk, we talk, we talk, we talk, we talk, and then there is an action plan. And in this particular case, I said to her, so this is the no bullshit style of coaching, because um, if you follow traditional school of coaching, if you will, what I said to her is completely unacceptable. Like traditional school of coaching says you cannot share your opinions with clients. You certainly cannot tell your clients what to do, right? You're just there to create space for people to arrive to their own conclusions. That is not my style of coaching. My style of coaching, as you know, couldn't be any further from this puristic, if you will, style of coaching.
And
So what
all the best in the world do what you do, by the way. So
I, I,
without exception.
I haven't met, and you are a great example as well. I haven't met a successful coach who was following the puristic style of coaching. Because obviously, when you think about it, there's a limited value to that style of coaching. So people don't want to pay too much for someone to just listen and not, again, use ChatGPT for it. Um, so you can probably guess where I'm going with this. What was the one thing that I said to her with a lot of conviction? This wasn't a negotiation. It's not like, hey, what do you I wasn't negotiating with her. I said, I need you. This is exactly what I said to her. I need you to break up with your boyfriend by next session. That's it. That wasn't like, oh, because of it's like, oh, what do you think? Do you think it's a good idea? And this girl, so I'm 30 years old at the time. She was 24. But she just looked at me. She didn't see that coming, that's for sure. She looked at me a little bit surprised, but okay. 2 or 3 weeks later, session number two, the first question I asked her was, did you break up with him? Yes, I did. When is he moving out? Because he was living at her place, right? 4 years. When is he moving out? Oh, I don't know. Give him 2 weeks. She gave him 2 weeks. He moved out after 2 weeks. Now, one thing I didn't say is that um, during that first session, after I told her to break up with him, I said, don't worry about anything, because I understood, she's 24, she is not from London, so she's an immigrant, an expat here, just like I am. All she knows is being in a relationship with this guy. She doesn't know how to date. She hasn't dated for a long time. She doesn't know where to go, etc. So I just said to her, you break up with him. I'm gonna tell you who to date, how to date, how to dress. I'm gonna take care of all of that. Like I got you. Like and it's the same for every client I work with. It's no longer you versus that thing that you want, or you versus that problem, such as taking Coke every day for 18 months. It's you and me versus that thing.
Mm.
And as soon as we start working together, your goals become my goals. And when it comes to me and my goals, I'm like a dog with a bone.
Mm.
I'm relentless. I know that you know it. I'm relentless. It's like, oh, maybe it would be nice to, like, oh, 14 years ago, I thought probably would be a good idea to go to the gym 3 times a week, every week, no matter what. No, it was, you're gonna go to the gym 3 times a week, every week, no matter what, unless you're sick or abroad. And sure enough, in 14 years, I haven't missed a single workout. Because I wasn't, and mind you, I don't like fitness, not even remotely. I take no pleasure in any physical activity whatsoever.
Hmm.
It would be very easy. That's not a commitment. Oh, I have so much self-discipline. I go to the gym 3 times a week. But you love the gym and the fitness, and yeah, I do. That's not that's like me saying, oh, I'm so disciplined because I get to see my clients 6 times per week. No, it's effortless. Right? It probably takes more effort for me to watch Netflix than to do that, right? So like I'm not gonna be like, look at me, I have never counseled on a client in 14 and a half years because I didn't feel, look at me. Like, no, that's easy for me. But the gym stuff, that's different. Anyway, so she broke up with him, he moved out. I did what I said I'm gonna do. I showed her the ropes, if you will. Long story short, well, it was a long story. But to shorten the what could be even longer story, to finish this one, um, after dating some amazing guys, because we were very specific, or I was very specific as to what kind of guys she's going to be dating,
Right.
i.e., non-losers only,
Hmm.
non-losers only, right? And I was very specific about what I mean by non-loser.
Right.
And being as smart as she was, I didn't have to repeat myself twice about anything because she was doing PhD. She was doing, at the time of me working with her, she was doing PhD in biochemistry. That gives you a sense of, intellectual capacity. Like I wouldn't last a day doing PhD of any kind, but her her cognitive abilities, and her brain power wasn't an issue, right? She just needed to know what to do, right? She just needed a roadmap, which I provided, and then I assisted her in implementing whatever needed to be implemented, right? After dating a bunch of interesting guys, she ended up moving to another country to be with the love of her life, who she's now married to, has been for a long time. They have 2 children together. They're perfect for each other. I saw them together. We had a catch up when I had my last girlfriend years ago, when she was my client, when she was in town. The four of us went out for a dinner or something. This guy, thus obviously I haven't met her ex. I only heard the stories about him, right? And they were not good, um, as we established. This guy was the polar opposite of that guy. He was treating her like a queen, because that's one of the things I said to her. That's one of the things I said to one of to my female clients when they're single and they're dating, because I do a fair bit of dating coaching for both male and female clients. I said to my single female clients, how whoever this guy is, he needs to treat you like a queen that you are. Do you get it? Do you hear what I'm saying? The conviction, right? This is not like, it would be nice if he treats you with respect. It would be nice if he treats you like a queen. No, 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 no. We are not going to accept anything less than that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just like I'm not going to accept anyone. I don't care if it's a young woman, if it could be our prime minister, it could be, I don't know, Elon Musk. If he made the same comment about my song, not that I'll be playing music, during the initial consultation, anything like that. But it's not like, oh, because she was, a young woman and it's a first date. Like, no, this is the rule of the house. You don't get to criticize, anything. It's like, oh, I don't like your fireplace. Well, I didn't ask you. This meeting is over. I didn't ask you. Like, I didn't ask you about your opinion. We're not here to talk about my fireplace. So it's the same thing, right? And then sure enough, speaking of conviction, how could I, so I'm gonna link those two things again. So the thing we talked about before and this example here, how could I ask of my clients things I don't do myself? How could I ask my clients, expect my clients to have high standards if I didn't have high standards myself?
That's right.
If I was right, I could still say the words. And because I've read a bunch of books, it would sound good, but the conviction wouldn't be there. Not at this level anyway. Because I know that if I ask you to do something, I know that I wouldn't ask you to do something I wouldn't do myself. Right? And therefore, because I know it, I can say it with conviction. I'm not gonna scratch my head nervously while I'm saying it because I know I'm being a fraud here because I'm saying to you, AJ, you can do whatever you put your mind into, knowing that I was trying to do that thing and I failed miserably and the other thing the other day and then because then it's like, oh yes, I read in a Tony Robbins book, 20 years ago that this is what you should, but there'll be no conviction because I wouldn't be leaving the things I talk about, right? So that's transformation number one. I mean, it's just a colossal, life-altering transformation, right? And
Right.
this was an example of one thing because we've done lots of great work. We had a whole bunch of sessions after that one, but is that one thing an order really? I wasn't asking her. It was an order. It's like an order, like in an army, like break up with your boyfriend by next session. It was like an order,
Right.
but I don't go around and talk to people like that unless they're my clients, right? But when you become a client, to me, that means that you not only are ready, but you also expect me or want me to give you quote unquote orders because you know that I have your best interest in mind. So
That's
if I
right.
tell you to do something or stop doing something, you know that the only reason I'm saying it is because I want what's best for you. I'm not saying it because I'm in a position of power, the authority figure thing.
Right.
No, I don't get any, you know, ego boost from it. I'm not, if I did, I'll take it as well, but I don't. It's like it's not like, oh, I feel so powerful, like, oh, because I say something and someone does it. Like if I wanted that, I would just join the army and get to the most senior level in the army. I would become a general and just tell, like, that's not my anyway. So that's story number one. Then more recently, um, it was another addiction, not as extreme as Coke, but my second youngest client, I have a 17-year-old, um, massively, massively addicted to vaping. But I've learned so much from him because I didn't realize until we met and he became a client and we talked about it. I didn't know up to that point that vaping could be as damaging as it is if you vape a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, right? Anyway, first session again, just like with the coke, let's call her a coke lady, bless her. She's great. I was very confident during the initial consultation that I'm gonna be able to help him to quit vaping once and for all during the first session already, and the 5 sessions that follow will be for other things as well. Sure enough, the vaping wasn't the only thing he came to me for. But it was something that needed to change in order for him to reach his goal of getting to an Ivy League in the US. So he's based in the UK, or he was, but he wanted to get to Ivy League, to Harvard or MIT, and the vaping would prevent him from being able to focus well enough to prepare to the exam which he needed to pass, called ACT, an ACT exam that he needed to pass in order to get to the Ivy League school, right? Because
Mm.
because as I've learned, that amount of or large amount of vaping really screws up your ability to focus,
Wow.
right? So it was. I was like, damn, yeah, I've learned so much. Anyway, so the first session comes in, so he became, with the consultation. Um, by the way, speaking of winners, elite mindset, yes, he's from a very wealthy family, but and I asked him when I met him, I didn't know who he was because when I asked about his LinkedIn, he said he doesn't have one. I thought that's a bit strange. It was one of those, hi Michael, can I have your availability? Let's call him John, not his real name. I thought, yeah, sure. So I didn't know who I was meeting. No LinkedIn or nothing. And then he comes in. I see his baby face was in person, so he was in front of me. I see his baby face. So I asked him, how old are you? And he goes, I just turned 17. I'm already impressed. Like, because I don't know what you've been up to, AJ, when you were 16, 17, but I can tell you what I've been up to, and personal development was not part of that list, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, was it your parents' idea as the coaching? Did they find you? How did? No, no, no. I found you. Okay, and how did you know about coaching? I don't know. I just so he found me himself. The parents paid for it later, but he thought about coaching. He found me. He booked the initial consultation. He showed up to the consultation by himself, and he just turned 17, right? Speaking of elite mindset.
Right.
Anyway, that first session, I thought, and I was just being honest. It just happened that my honest take on who smokes, like the association I have in my brain as to who smokes vape predominantly was, as I found out, what he needed to hear in order to stop smoking it once and for all. And the only thing I said was, and mind you, while I was saying it, I didn't know until afterwards, until like the following session, or like between session 1 and 2, I didn't know that that line is gonna be the line that's gonna change everything, right? I didn't know it after some time have passed. And the line was very simple. I said to him, "I'll be honest with you. I've always associated, which is true. I've always associated vaping with teenage girls." And he's a young man, but a man nevertheless. Not just a man, an alpha male. So I said that, and I could see on his face that he didn't like hearing it. And he was processing what I just said. And that was it. He's never touched, last time I checked, it's been 2 years since was as far as I know, he hasn't touched vape since. Because the idea, and you know what I added? I added, this is, there is no bullshit coaching and there's Michael Serwa type of coaching. Because I said to him, I added something. I said to him, I said, if you want to smoke something, at least be a man and smoke a cigarette.
Mm.
And he said, I don't really like cigarettes. Well, they don't smoke, then don't smoke anything. That's for girls. Vaping is for girls. Come on. Vape with a peach flavor, raspberry flavor. Come on. Right. So like I knew what I was doing. I was being tactical there. I believed in what I was saying, but I also knew that I was being tactical there because that was one of the angles that I thought it might work. Him being a male and a bit of an alpha male, you know, and again, me leveraging the fact that he saw me as an authority figure. He has a father, right? But the father is extremely successful, but so chill, right? Like, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry, like, you're gonna grow out of it, don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. The father knowing that whether his son's gonna get to Harvard or not, his son will never have to worry about money for the rest of his life because the family is so rich, right? And my client, John, told me that he wishes that his parents were a little bit stricter on him sometimes. But I said, listen, don't blame them for it. They love you. They love you, and you are the only child. He is the only child. They love you, and especially your father. He's very busy. Making millions. He loves you. He would do anything for you. But that's why people get coaches. Sometimes because they understand that something I often talk about how it would be unrealistic to expect that one person can meet all your needs. Completely unrealistic, especially in the context of dating. It's like, oh, my boyfriend doesn't, my husband doesn't like, yeah, it's not his job to be a handyman, the best lover on the planet, hold your hands when you speak, protect you from it's way too much expectation on one person. A therapist and a Like, no, that's why you have friends. That's why you have coaches for different things. How many coaches have you had? I've got 20 plus, right, for different things,
Yeah, a lot.
right?
I've had a lot too.
Right? You didn't
Yeah.
think, oh, I'm just gonna find one coach. I'm gonna try to get everything from that one coach. No, because we know better. We know, like, oh no, I'm gonna get something from this person here because they specialize at that. I'm gonna take this from this person over here. I'm gonna try to get this from this person, and then at 43, I'm the product of all the advice of all the people who came before me, who either shared it with me personally or I learned from them through the material such as books and the material I've produced, such as books and videos and etc. Right? So that's number two. And the third one,
And these are great, by the way. These are excellent stories. If you're in a leadership position or you're a CEO, a parent, a police chief, doesn't sports coach, put yourself in in Michael's shoes in these stories because these are just illustrations of how do you get a radical transformation?
of course, yeah,
Transfer of self-conviction, one fearless action, because there's fear involved in all these things you're telling these clients to do. There's a fear factor that you're helping them overcome by telling them the one thing they have to do. And then there's that one sentence paradigm shift. So it doesn't matter again what type of leadership position you're in. Again, a CEO, a Division 1 football coach, you can apply this formula. And Michael's illustrating these in these great stories. And do you have any career or business stories, of life-changing transformations?
the third one is, yeah, because I thought, let me just, so one is like love life, one is addiction, and the third one is there's a swear word in the question I asked my client, but I'm not gonna, I'm gonna change it slightly, not to use a swear word, but just before I share the third one, um, I thought about, and this was so harsh that even I, if you wouldn't say that to a client, but it is very much related to what you were just saying, how we are talking about, like how one thing can change someone's life, right? And how, as you've been saying, you don't need to be a coach to do that, right? You can be a parent, you can be a boss, you can be a colleague, you can be a partner, you can be a friend, right? Like I had this client, this Aussie client based in London, and he was telling me how. So when I was working with him, he was in his late 20s. He was in a very good, not just a good shape, very good shape, like physical shape, right? And it came out in one of our conversations, one of our sessions, how when he was a teenager, he used to be really, really fat, but like obese level fat, right? I remember thinking and saying to him, like, no way, because I just couldn't picture. It's like if you told me, Michael, when I was a teenager, I used to be really, really fat. Like it would be so hard for me to imagine it because I only know you being as fit as you are, right? And the same with my client. Let's call him John again, not his real name. So John tells me how he's been trying, and I remember making a cheesy joke of how probably he wasn't doing too well in his dating life in his teens before the transformation. He was like, "Yeah, you bet." I wasn't the most popular because of that. Good looking guy, but just he was just very 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 big. Um, until after trying a bunch of different diets and starting and stopping and trying to figure this out and failing miserably and all of that. It was one sentence said by his cousin. So this is the part I wouldn't be this harsh with the client. I would say something, but not this level of harshness, because even for me that's too harsh, right? But because it's family, they were family members, right? So cousin said to John at one point when John was, I can't remember, maybe 17, 18, 19, something like that, late teens, right? He said the cousin said to him, he said, John, do something with yourself. You look F word disgusting. And it was just, we know how it works, right? It was such emotional shock to John, right? Um, I read something a long time ago how in order to feel really motivated towards achieving a certain goal, our motivation towards achieving it needs to reach emotional part within us, not just logical, but also emotional. Obviously, logically or rationally speaking, he knew that being that fat wasn't good for him. He knew that. Smart guy, he knew that. Who doesn't know that, right? But it's only until his cousin, it's only when his cousin said that to him, do something with yourself, you look F word disgusting. It was just like,
Mm.
and sure enough, he lost all his weight and he never gained it back. And now, oh my God, many people would look at it and, oh my God, you can't talk to people like that. That's so harsh. It was the biggest, the way I see it, it was the biggest gift that cousin could have offered my client.
That's right.
It harsh at the time, not at the same level. When I said to my client, like the 17-year-old, about how I associate vaping with teenage girls, that was harsh for him. I could see on his face he didn't like hearing it. He gave me that look of, mm,
Mm.
is this guy my friend or my enemy? Is he my ally or my enemy? Right? There was this look, right? So I can imagine that the Aussie client John must have felt 10 times that when the cousin said that, right? But he changed his life, right? Maybe he saved his life,
Right.
right? So like if we're talking about things like obesity at that level or coke, it's changing this, saving lives, right? Anyway, so the third story, um, very successful recruiter, um, absolutely killing it for his company, director level, right? In his mid-30s, with a strong desire to quit that job, very well paid job, and start his own recruitment company. He had all the ingredients, the industry knowledge, impeccable people skills, some money saved up, but at the same time, married with two kids, small kids at the time. Um, Wife, either can't remember, either not working or working and making very little money, just something like, teacher or something, right? So he was by far the main provider, and he was, responsible to provide for not just himself but the entire family, right? So, and at the same time, because of how time intensive his job was, he knew he couldn't realistically continue with his day job, continue obviously being a husband and father to his two boys, and start this business at the same time. So he knew he had to leave his job, trust that he's gonna be able to make enough money from his business before he runs out of his savings. And all he needed, so everything was there, all he needed was the push to do that. He came to me with the hope of me being the push that he needed. And
Mm.
sure enough, again, there's a pattern here. Session number one, right? So I typically have 6 sessions with clients, but there are often some breakthroughs already during the first session, right? Because if I see an opportunity, if I see an opening, I'm not gonna be pacing myself. I'm gonna go after it, right? Like a boxer, if the boxer sees an option to knock somebody out during the first round, he's gonna go for it or she's gonna go for it, right? So it's a little bit like that. So in this case, it wasn't a statement like with the other two. Um, One was the like an order. The second one was a statement, sharing an insight or whatever we call it. The last one is a question. I said John, not his real name again. Not all my clients are called John. Surely. I said, John, so he has this dilemma, right? Like, what shall I do? Shall I quit this job and start this business, or shall I not quit this job? I don't know, save up more money, maybe try to do it on the side, even though I don't see how I could make it work realistically, right? So I said, John, let me ask you something. What would you do? So, I understand you find yourself in this predicament here. But let me ask you something. What would you do if you were less of a P word, if you were less of a P word about it? And I just pause and just that's it. Just one question, right? Again, I know I'm talking to not just a male. I wouldn't ask the same question to a female client because it wouldn't be appropriate. I would change it slightly, right? But because he was a male client, also an alpha male, like the 17-year-old, I had a sneaky suspicion that this might be the right question to ask. And sure enough, to this day, and we worked together maybe 10 years ago. To this day, he likes to remind me that that was the question that changed everything because sure enough, the answer was, well, if I was less of a P word about it, I would quit this job, start this business. He quit his job, started his business, sold it a few years ago for God knows how many millions. He doesn't need to think about money for the rest of his life. One question, one question that changed everything, right? But let's don't forget, all three of those people were self-aware enough to know that there is something that they need to change, aware of this thing called coaching, smart enough to actually do something with that awareness, because you can know that coaching exists, but the knowledge is worthless in itself, right? As we know, it's applying the knowledge that has value or can have value. They made, especially the last one, because the other ones are from what I was charging much less. Um, they've made significant financial investments into working with someone they just met once. They were not referrals. They were not people that I've known. They were strangers. I was a stranger to them when they met me for the initial consultation, right? But we spent some time, a few hours. Then they made those upfront payments of large amounts of money. So they trusted me. They trusted them in no particular order. They trusted me. They trusted themselves in being able to benefit from it in a way that would justify the financial and especially for the recruiter time investment, right? Because I'm under no illusion that this is not just the financial investment that is required. It's also the time investment, right? Especially the type of people we work with, right? They rarely unemployed, right? Doing nothing. They're usually very busy, right? So I know it's not just the money. For many of my clients, the money investment is the easy part, is the time investment. But then you're like, okay, so like you said, okay, it's typically around 25 hours in total. And I need to get to you if they're based in London. Like half of my clients are London based, roughly, and the other half are outside of London. So we do it over Zoom. So especially for the ones who are based in London, it's not just the time that we spend together. It's also getting to my place. I'm in central London, but still need to get to my place, right? And then back to your place. So one has to really bet on themselves. But those are three examples. We could spend another 5 hours me sharing similar stories, right? You asked me for three, so these are three. The three that I came up that I thought about straight away. Or the first three I thought about, and the fourth one could be, the bonus one could be the Coke one. Because yeah, I'm very confident that she's not gonna touch it. She's not gonna touch it. Like we've reinforced it further. Second time I saw her, she's coming again tomorrow for the third session. We're gonna touch on it, but we're not gonna spend too much time on it because there's nothing to talk about. Like it's not part of her life anymore. We remove the cancer, if you will. So the cancer is not in your body anymore. There's no point to talk about it anymore. It's done. So now we already started working on other things. Even though she came to me to quit this addiction, um, it happened very quickly, and now we have all this time to work on other areas of her life, which is a different life because she's coke free. She's addiction free. It could be coke, like you can insert anything. It could be alcohol, could be 2 packs of cigarettes per day, anything of that magnitude, right? It's not part of her life anymore. So now that allows us to create magic in her life in general because it's a different life. She's a different person, as you can imagine, right? So yes, extremely fulfilling work and yeah, just to think about how how much power we all have as leaders to influence people in our lives, right? Starting if you have children with your children, people around you, right? I, 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 I use every opportunity I have to. I think I might have heard this. Probably I heard this phrase before, I was definitely reminded of it from you first time we met or second time we met, leaving people better than you found them. Because I know you say that a lot. It's a great way to capture my general life philosophy and a philosophy that I don't impose on other people, obviously, but I recommend to other people, right? Because it's very because I know it's very fulfilling, right? And it's not like from a moral standpoint, like, oh, but it's a right thing to do. It's like I'm not here to talk about morality, like that's you know I like to stay within my lane, so I don't see it like I just recommend it because I know how it makes me feel, and I recommend that way of life to other people so they can perhaps feel the way I feel when I leave people better than I find them.
Oh, well said. So, a few major principles here, a few major leadership principles here, or just leaving people better than you found them principles. Number one, masters make the complex simple. And Michael said one sentence paradigm shift, either a statement or a question. So if you're in a leadership position, you got to boil it down to a bumper sticker, a question that's going to shock people's system. One, okay, one thing. Number two, one fearless action. And that includes Michael being fearless to challenge people and to say things that are going to shock the system. There's a fearlessness on Michael's end that he's modeling and practicing, but there's a fear component to the person who's being coached as well. Again, put yourself in his shoes as a leader and you're coaching someone, a team member, an executive, your child, it doesn't matter, a family member, a friend, you're serving them, you're leading them. One fearless action step. And then number three, a transfer of self conviction. You can't just say it, you have to say it. You've got to say it with conviction. You can't tiptoe around it. You can't say maybe, kind of, try this. You have to say this is what you need to do. Now, when you're coming from a place of leaving people better than you found them, and you are a lunatic about them achieving their goal, like Michael is, that he said it, their goals are just as important to him as they are to them, then you're coming from a place of altruism and kindness, ultimately. You're coming from a place of warmth and service. Now you've got to, now it does take time. Michael studied, read a lot of books, and he's got a lot of experience. and he's got knowledge to know what that right question is and that right action step is. Okay. But everyone has something to offer. If they listen and they just boil it down to first principles, simplicity. But, Michael's got a lot of experience, which allows him to get there faster in one session, one conversation. So he can get there faster and better. But everyone, if you practice this, if you read and you study and you learn your student of life and psychology and excellence and service, you can start to do what Michael does faster than you think. Not at his level yet, but you can start to get there. So, ultimate principles: one sentence, one question, one simple statement. Number two, one fearless action step. Number three, you've got to say it with self-conviction. You got to cut through the noise. But you combine those three things, that's how you get a radical transformation. Because if you make it too complicated, too many steps, they'll get there, but it's going to take longer. If they do get there. If you don't have that paradigm shift, you only have the action, it's not permanent. You're teaching them how to think. You teach them a new mental model that they can apply forever. And if you don't say it with enough self-conviction, they're not going to hear that sentence and that action step enough. So it's a cocktail of all three that combine to a radical transformation that changes lives. And that's how I hear it, from what Michael described. He's talked to me about this before, his process. I've listened to him talk about it in interviews. He's got, I think, 100% success rate with clients now, which is insane. But I do believe that. That sounds crazy. Is that just a marketing gimmick? No, I do believe that because he identifies the one goal and he's a lunatic, a maniac about them achieving the goal. I've seen it in action.
Guilty as charged.
There it is. That's how you can get that kind of batting average. And he's selective. Again, he told you he's selective about who he works with. They've got to be coachable. They've got to be committed. They've got to be capable of achieving what they're setting out to do. But they're ready, like he said. They're ready to commit financially. They're ready to commit the time. In psychology, I mean, there's levels of commitment, and Michael's describing it. You're ready. You're not just contemplating it. You just need that extra expert guide with who's going to give you the right push in the exact right direction, mentally and physically, to get there. But this is one of my favorite conversations I've had on the show by far. And I love them all. And I appreciate you giving us so much time, as always. Uh, you're great at what you do. Everyone listening, take away the principles and just apply them to what you do. Be fearless and have the confidence to set standards for your life and set those kind of boundaries. And like Michael said, you're not being a jerk about it. You're just being matter of fact. These are the standards I have in my life of how people treat me and how they behave and their attitude. And it really helps. Like Michael said, you got to live them yourself. If you're asking for those kind of standards, you got to model them yourself. That right there can be really life changing for people to set those kind of standards in their life of how they're treated, of what's acceptable and what's not in terms of people's attitude, effort, and behavior in their life. That's really important there. And I know you model that for your clients. So when you say it, they really hear it because you can say it with self-conviction. So important. Michael, any recommendations? You and I have talked about your favorite books, documentaries, coaches. You mentioned, I don't know if this is still the case, the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, which is one of my favorites. The Conor McGregor documentary, Notorious, which was great at that time in his life. I'm not condoning his current, I know you're not either, his current actions, but at that time in his life, that's a real snapshot. Anything you can recommend us or your listeners, our listeners, your favorite things?
Yeah, so I mentioned Daniel Priestley before, but since I've worked with Daniel Priestley, since I did that group coaching program put together by him and did one-to-one coaching with him, he's been on the second biggest podcast on the planet called The Diary of a CEO 7 times now, which is the
Wow.
most, he's been on it 2 weeks ago for the seventh time. So three or four, let's say half of those times were as part of a debate. So there were other people as well, right? And at least 3 times he was there solo, if you will. Um, I strongly recommend for anyone who is a business owner of any, not just a coach. He said he doesn't just work with coaches. He he's as passionate about helping entrepreneurs to do well financially, to grow the businesses, to build the businesses, grow the businesses, as I am passionate about helping my clients who are business owners for the most part, but many of my clients are not business owners, as I'm passionate about helping my clients to have better lives in general, including the business, right? Um, and because I've known him since 2012 and I consider him to be one of the closest people in my life. I know how he is um, behind the closed doors just as well as I know how he is in front of the camera. And what I can tell you with 100% certainty or conviction, that could be a keyword for today. Um, I can tell you with certainty that this man is exactly the same in front of the camera as he is behind closed doors. There's only one version of Daniel. Um, he's very active on LinkedIn. He's very active on Instagram. He has a YouTube channel. So any business owners or anyone thinking about starting a business, this is definitely someone to follow. He also written He's written, I think, 7 books as well. So seven times. So seven is a. He only has one wife, not seven. I know that for sure. He's not. I think in Nigeria you can have up to four, but yeah, in the UK only one. So yeah, he's just one wife, 3 kids. Yes, so he's a great one to follow. Um, um, uh, I've been reading. I've listened to his Instagram live earlier today, and I've read his LinkedIn post earlier today as well. He's very active, and he's just good at what he does. He's a master of his craft. So a great one to follow. Um, and yeah, the Direct CEO podcast is the one I listen to a lot of. I like the host Stephen Bartlett. I like his style. Just like yourself, he's very curious. He asks a question and he let the guest talk. And there's that real curiosity, which you cannot fake. I mean, you can maybe fool I don't know, a 20-year-old with no experience, but you can't fool you. You can't fool me. Like if someone is not genuine, sooner or later I'm gonna sniff it out, right? And I've listened to so many of his podcasts because he has so many interesting guests. Not just Daniel, but I listen to podcasts, his podcasts with or his interviews with doctors and lawyers and like just you name it. AI experts. I've been listening to one in the morning with this AI expert. So I'm interested in the AI space, a little bit. It's like, oh, I wonder what she has to say. If she was good enough for him to invite her, she probably has something I can learn from her. And sure enough, I'm learning. Like I'm only like 20 minutes or half an hour in, and I'm like, okay, that's an interesting way of looking at things, right? So 2 recommendations: Daniel Priestley for business owners or aspiring business owners, and in a way, leaders as well. Although only a certain percentage of his content is for leaders, right? So if you are a leader in an organization, but it's not your own company, then most of his content will just not be suitable for you, right? But you can check it out anyway. And then, apart from your podcast, AJ, the Diary of a CEO podcast. Stephen Bartlett, a British guy, but based in LA. Yeah, great variety of guests. So whoever you are, whatever you are interested in, you will find um, plenty of interesting topics to like in his library of podcasts that he's been um, recording for a very long time now. He started in a kitchen at his place in 2017, I believe. He started in the kitchen. I didn't know he existed back then, but he started in the kitchen, in his kitchen, 2017, I think, and now It's the second biggest podcast after Joe Rogan's one. And my prediction is, I'm going to say it publicly for the first time. Not that people care
Mhm.
about my predictions that much, but I am very, very certain that he will overtake Joe Rogan's one, that he will be soon having the biggest podcast on the planet.
Wow.
That's my prediction. Um, because and he talks about it. Like the thing that we always like to talk about, especially you, when you talk about be 1% better,
Mhm.
1%, 1%, 1%. He has the same mindset to us when it comes to becoming better and better and better. And I know that because he would share certain stories with some of his guests. So I know that for a fact. And I know from Daniel as well. Daniel has confirmed my suspicion, my strong suspicion about Steven, that he's just a really good guy.
Mhm.
That's not just a, facade. Because I was like, hey, Daniel, like, how is he? How is he as as a human being? I know he's a great podcaster. He's a great host. I know that because I can see that. But like, how is he as a human being? Is he? I don't know. He's a great guy. I thought, yeah, that's what I always thought. So because you see, is that thing I talked about before in the context of my dentist, like how I need my service providers not to only be competent, but also loving what they do, or at the very least, really liking what they do, because I just like to be around people like that. When it comes to people in general, whether it's people I date or obviously service providers, my clients, anyone who I allow within my orbit, I don't care how competent, how smart, how rich, how beautiful, if they're not a good person, what does it mean, good person? Well, we all have our interpretations of it. A good person. No, I'm not interested. Maybe I'll see a girl once or twice, take care of the business, and that's going to be about it. But I'm not going to work with someone who I don't think is a good person because that's not a long-term relationship, but a mid-term relationship. I'm not going to date someone mid to long term who is not a good person. I don't care how she looks because I'm just not interested in people like that. Right? Like I wish them all the best, but not within my orbit. Right? Um, Gen Zs would say, good vibes only. You know,
Mhm.
hashtag good vibes. That's what I'm about. Good vibes, right? Like you don't need to be educated. You don't need to be intellectually whatever. Not that I am, but you need to have your heart in the right place for
People
me.
can sense that. Good intentions for others.
Yeah, yeah. I make mistakes with my team. I have my Steve Jobs moments, I call them Steve Jobs moments when I'm just like my perfectionism, like no, and I'm just taking it too far sometimes, right? Not to the same extreme that Steve Jobs used to take. I'm not shouting at anyone. I'm not swearing it. I swear a lot, but like I'm not swearing at people like ever. But I have moments sometimes where I'm like, I wake up the next day or even like half an hour later, sometimes, what the hell was I thinking? Just because they work for me, they're younger than me, just because I can get away with it. Because that's the thing. If you are a leader, it's like, oh, I can get away with it, right? Like don't talk to your children, don't talk to your teen, don't talk to the cleaner, don't talk to the Uber driver the way you wouldn't talk to your boss, the way you wouldn't talk to your favorite celebrity, right? So that's like that. That's something that allows me to stay consistent, right? This idea of I'm not better than anyone. Nobody's better than me, right? But I'm not better than anyone. And therefore, I'm going to talk to everybody the same way. I'm going to try my hardest to talk to everyone the same way. So at the gym I go to, I talk to cleaners who work there the same way I talk to the spa's director in where the gym is. There's a spa and the gym is in the spa. I talk to the cleaners the way I talk to the spa director. That's the goal, right? And I don't see why I wouldn't. I don't see why I would treat her differently than the cleaners working there. Why? Because she's the director and there are cleaners. because she's, a white English woman, and some of those this one guy from Nigeria. Like, why? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, a human and a human, and I'm a human. So let's just be human with each other, no? Like, let me just like, oh, but you are a royal, and therefore, like, I don't care. What did you do? What did you do to become a royal? Oh, I happen to be born in this family. Okay, well done. Like, why would I? No, no, no disrespect to your royals, but like, why should I treat you differently because you happen to be born in a certain family? Or why should I treat you differently because you happen to be born in a poor country and you had no access to education? Right? So it works both ways. Right? So, but when you think about it, I'm all about efficiency. Right? I'm like a German trapped in a Polish body. I'm so big on efficiency, just efficiency, efficiency, punctuality, efficiency. When you think about it on a very practical level, that's the most efficient way to operate, because if you treat everyone the same with the same amount of respect, it's easier to remember. It's like, oh, because you're like, okay, so those people over here, I'm gonna treat them this way. Those people over here, I'm gonna treat them this. Like, bloody hell, like, how often do you want to change your mask? How often do you want to get into a different character? To me,
Great
that'd be
point.
like an actor doing one scene over here, a dramatic scene, and he or she's making herself cry for this scene, and then jumping straight into some comedy scene. That, my goodness, that'll be exhausting. I don't want to be thinking about things like this. Oh, okay, okay, the director is here. Okay, so how is my hair? Okay, the director is here. Okay, so oh, the cleaner, doesn't matter. No, it's like, okay, let's make sure my hair always looks like, let's make sure the hair, I'm using hair as an example. Like the manner in which I speak to those people, the eye contact, the way I shake their hand. Am I looking at my phone while I'm speaking to them? I'm not gonna look at my phone while I'm speaking to, there's no human on the planet in which this scenario would be acceptable. While I'm talking to them and I'm looking at like, yeah, 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 yeah. No, uh-uh. If I need to check my phone, it's like, just 1 second, please. Just can you give me 1 second? Obviously not when I'm with a client or anything like that, or prospective client, but like I'm talking about more like social. Like, no, it's disrespectful. And sure enough, I had an initial consultation with someone maybe 2 weeks ago, and um, she wasn't my favorite person, and sure enough, she didn't become a client. But it's not because of that she wasn't my favorite person, because that's, not the end of the world. But we would have the initial consultation, right? And then she would just sometimes take her phone and just look at it. So the first two times I didn't say anything because I thought maybe she was just like checking the time, because maybe she had to be. So it's like I didn't, but then I think it was the third time when it was clear that she was reading some, or like looking at, like it was more than just like something like this, right? Just like for people listening, I'm just like looking at my phone without actually looking at it for too long, just a quick look. So, and I've done it before with other people. I just said to her again, the idea is to say what you want to say without getting upset, without getting emotional about it, right? Just to deliver, as you said, as a matter of fact, just to present it as a matter of fact, right? So I just ask her, is, is this more important than this? Not than me, but the conversation we are having about changing her life, right?
Right.
Oh, sorry. Just, and sure enough, she was uh, doesn't matter, but she happened to be Middle Eastern, wealthy, very wealthy woman. The driver was waiting for her outside in a black Mercedes S-Class, that type of vibe. Again, I don't care. You could be the ruler of your country, and you just disrespected me by what looked like reading a message on your phone while having an initial consultation with me in my own house. I'm gonna say something. And if you have a problem with me saying it, you are free to. I didn't have to say it. But if she had a problem with me saying that, I would ask her if she remembers where the entry is, or shall I guide her there? That could be the line I've used. Do you know where the door is, or shall I help you out?
Hmm.
My house, my rules. My life, my rules. It's not just my house. My life, my rules. I create the rules, I play by my rules, and the people in my life are okay with my rules. And the people who are not okay with my rules, they're just not part of my life. And then I don't need
Everyone
to get
should do the
upset.
same.
Sorry?
Everyone should do the same. They should set a standard
Well,
for their life of how people treat them and how they treat others and attitude, effort, and behavior.
that's my official recommendation. If I was a doctor prescribing things, that would be my prescription for anyone listening. And I know it works or can work because that's my life day in, day out. And I challenge you to find a single person who knows me really well. So you know me well, but someone who like knows me like really well, who spent, you know, 10 or 100 times more time with me than you did. I challenge you to find one person who would say, "Oh, there was this one thing that Michael said today in this conversation that's not true. He told me that something else that was no." No, because it's I'm I don't do false modesty. I'm very comfortable and happy to talk about my wins and successes in life. I'm just as comfortable talking about my failures, right? And nobody can quote unquote accuse me of anything that I haven't admitted myself before. I think, oh, you. So sometimes, like in a dating context, so I've been single now by choice since 2017. So I've been dating a lot, playing the field, and sometimes women are, oh, you have like they want to like tease me or like maybe hurt me, but in a playful way, right? But they would say something like sometimes like you have such a big head. Like, I know. Mhm. You are so full of yourself. I am. We are in agreement. Or you you think you think so highly of yourself, don't you? I do. I recommend you do the same. Nobody says you think you are better than other people because I don't think I am. So nobody says that.
There's a nuance there. There's a
Yeah,
difference,
there's a difference. Absolutely.
huge difference.
I absolutely love myself and I absolutely wholeheartedly love the people in my life. And not for a second I think that I'm better than anyone. Maybe apart from dictators. Like I always make this exception because for me it's it's the dictators and people like dictators and there's everybody else. And everybody else, we all make mistakes. I can, you've cheated on your wife. You know what? I've cheated on my girlfriend as well. Oh, you've been addicted to something. Don't worry about it. It's like, it's life, right? Oh, you do mass murdering. Nah, mm-mm, nah. I sincerely hope that, you know, um, let me put it mildly. I hope that perhaps you won't be the person who gets to live 5 years. Like let me put it this way. That's my hope for those people, right? But everybody else, I wish you all the best. I want the best for you. And if you are my person, you can be in my orbit with my orbit. If you're not my person, I don't want you in my orbit, but I still wish you the best because why wouldn't I? There is this saying or something I heard a long time ago, which I really liked, and this would apply to a business, this would apply to a corporate career, and this would apply to life in general. It's like how maybe you heard this, how there are only two ways when you think about it to end up having the highest skyscraper in town. One is to build the highest skyscraper, and the other one is to demolish other people's skyscrapers. So in the context of coaching, I'm very competitive. I'm in general very competitive. I absolutely wanted to be the best coach in the country and then eventually in the world. I've never I've never not talked about it. I've never tried to hide that desire and that objection, not objection, objective rather. Um, but what's always been very clear to me as well is that I absolutely do not want to achieve it by demolishing other people's skyscrapers, right? Because even if I was to get there by demolishing other people's skyscrapers, by bringing other coaches down, I would achieve my goal of being the best coach in the world, but I would look in the mirror and I would absolutely hate what I see. Would that be a win then? No. Because as much as I care about my career goals and goals in general and this thing or the other, there's nothing I care about more than looking at that mirror and liking what I see, being in peace with myself. And I know myself enough to know that in order for me to be in peace with myself, I cannot be a jerk. I can act like a jerk sometimes, catch myself on it, and then apologize, which I do sometimes with my team, especially almost exclusively with my team. Very rarely, but it happens a few times per year. Small stuff, relatively speaking, but not good enough for me. So then I apologize. And they say, Michael, don't worry about it. That's nothing. Like, no, 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 no. That's unacceptable. I have a higher standard for myself than this. It's not going to happen again. And it doesn't happen again. I'll make another mistake. I'll apologize for something else, but not for the same thing. So I always say, making mistakes, of course, go and make mistakes. Make sure there are new mistakes, though.
Right.
Right? Because making mistakes is human. Making the same mistake over and over again is called being thick. Being a human, we all suffered from this condition, right? There's no treatment for it. We cannot not be human, but being fit, come on. And the thing is, when I say thick, one can be intelligent and thick in that sense at the same time. It's not about the IQ thing. It's just, come on. Like, come on. Like, how many times do you need to be, I don't drive myself, as we established, but how many times do you need to be caught, you know, you know, driving while drinking while driving? Like, how do you say? Like, it's just, one time is one too many. And you've been caught. Not, it's not about being caught. It's about doing the wrong thing. You've done it for the third time. Seriously? Like risking your life, that's dumb enough, but come on. And I'm someone who loves alcohol, right? But there's no scenario, wine. There's no scenario in which at 43, I don't know where my head would be on that front when I was 23 or 18. If I just got a driving license in Poland, I think you have to be 18, unlike US. There's absolutely no scenario in which I would get a driving license, get a car, um, have half a bottle of wine and no, because I do act stupid sometimes, but there are levels and no, let's be smarter than that. Let's be smarter than that person who drinks and drives. Yeah, that's how you say it. Drinks and drives, and then come on, like just come on. Oh, but yeah, it's hard for me. It's like, okay, yes, yes, those things are not easy because it's easier not to think about things like that. I'm just using this as an example. It's easier not to go to the gym or like do some sort of exercise regularly. Of course, it's easier. It's easier not to follow on our promises. It's easier not to have a healthy diet or at least a relatively healthy diet. I get it. It's easier. Like it's easier. It's easier to suck than not to suck. But let's try our level best to suck as little as possible. I'm going to leave it at that.
Mhm. Well said. Any books and documentaries you could recommend to us? And yeah, definitely we're into overtime here, so I appreciate the time.
Oh no, no, in conversations like that, I lose a sense. I know what time it is because I have a clock over there, but
Yeah.
I'm good. Um, I I used to read actual physical books. I haven't read a book in at least a decade. I switched to audiobooks.
Mm.
And then in the last few years, I switched to podcasts. And I already talked about my favorite, or the one I listen to the most, which is my favorite, The Diary of a CEO. Um, do I have any new books recommendations since Naval, the one you've mentioned, which is still the second most gifted book after my own book. Eh, when I give a physical copy to someone who I meet in person, then when they leave, I go on Amazon, I order a replacement, and I think and it shows, oh, purchased this many times. And I think when I was reordering it last time, if I remember correctly, I think it showed purchased 42 times before.
Wow.
So like I was like, damn, like 42 times, like I've given those, and like I said, half of my meetings are not even in person, so I couldn't physically give it to like, uh, so 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 uh, yeah, I have no new books recommendations. The Diary of a CEO podcast, following Daniel Priestley, checking him out,
Hmm.
in general, and then in terms of documentaries, in terms of I watch a lot of TV, but when I say a lot, what does it mean a lot? 10 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours per week, maybe. So like I appreciate it's subjective, but that's a lot. Like it's definitely not a small amount. And sure enough, these days I'm most interested in documentaries. Right? Less so. I've never been into reality shows, but I used to watch the likes of House of Cards, the Game of Thrones when I was younger, when those shows were coming out. They are great shows. I recommend them, but I've just lost interest in for the most part in shows like that. Um, I'm most interested in documentaries, and whether it's a wildlife documentary or my favorite ones are about anything to do with greatness of any kind. Surprise, surprise. Um,
Hmm.
one great one that I watched recently, I can't remember the title. I will need to check, um, which I can. It's
Hmm.
on Netflix, and it's about this female chess grandmaster who became a grandmaster um, quicker or sooner than what was the name of that male? I think he was American, Bobby Fischer.
Hmm.
Um, she became a grandmaster, I think 3 months sooner than him. The title is I went on Netflix. Queen of Chess is called.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic. So for those of you um, watching it as opposed to listening to it, that's the
Thank you.
absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
how her
excellent.
father, how her father in Hungary, she's Hungarian. What's her name again? Judith Polga. I think that's the pronunciation. So you're gonna love this, AJ, because you'll see how her father in a very poor household in Hungary in the 70s or 80s. So this is a while ago, right? I think in the 80s. He decided, he told his wife that he has this master plan of turning his children, or their children rather, before the children were born, into chess grandmasters. So he was into chess, he wasn't a grandmaster himself, he knew chess, but he had a plan, and they happened to have three daughters. He was probably hoping for boys because like you usually associate chess with men, right? Especially in Hungary in the 80s or 70s. He was probably like, oh, boys would be nice. But it happened to be three girls. And you're gonna love this, like when you watch it. He just created an environment for them to win. Different teachers come in, a morning chess teacher, afternoon chess teacher, and the girls, all three of them, were completely and utterly immersed in becoming great chess players. And sure enough, all three of them became elite chess players. But one of them, Judith, became even better than her two sisters. I think she's the youngest out of the three. And she completely knocked it out of the park, the chess world. I don't play chess myself. But like I said, I'm, and I always have been interested in greatness. I don't care the field. We were talking about Conor McGregor, which yeah, I'm not a big fan of anymore. But the story of getting from where he was, a plumber apprentice in Ireland, broke to MMA champion, right? Do I care about MMA? I don't care about MMA any more than I care about chess. I don't. I've never done, I've never played chess. I've never done MMA, mixed martial arts. Doesn't matter. But I watch those documentaries because I want to learn what made those people great. I want to see what made those people great at whatever discipline they were or they are engaging in, whatever game they're playing, whether it's what's the title of that one with Michael Jordan, The Last Dance.
Right.
I don't care about basketball. I've played some basketball in primary school. I couldn't care less about basketball, but I care about greatness. And if we talk about greatness, I don't think a conversation about greatness could take place for longer than unless someone is a snob and only likes to, talk about the greatness and see only the likes of Beethoven and Mozart is great. They're like, well, okay, I see them as great as well, but a conversation about greatness for longer than a few minutes without Michael Jordan's name coming out, it's not a, there's something missing in this conversation. It's not just Mozart and Beethoven and Bach and Miles Davis. Michael Jordan, have you heard about that guy? Michael Jackson, Madonna, like there's different, um, and I remember this is not a new thing. I remember as a teenager reading autobiographies of the likes of Sigmund Freud and Miles Davis and the greats, right? Just learning, absorbing, right? And sure enough, just like you have cracked the code over time, I have cracked the code as well. So I know what it takes to be great. There's always next level, right? But I know what it takes to be great. I get paid precisely to help my clients become great at whatever area they want to become great at. Like I know how to become great. Just like you know how to become great and how to help people to become great. This is what we do. This is our game. It's not chess, it's not MMA, we call it, it's called coaching. The way I see it is we use this incredible vehicle called coaching that allows us to facilitate the process of transformation. It's the vehicle, right?
That's right.
It's an amazing vehicle, right? But as you were saying multiple times throughout our conversation today, the tools that we use as coaches, the things that we can say to our clients, everybody can use and everybody can say to other people. You don't need to be one's coach to use the tools that we as coaches use to help our clients. It applies to any human being, whether you are in a leadership position or not. It applies to you. If you are a human being, if you have a heartbeat, if you listen to this, what we talked about applies to you, right? I don't care who you are, how old you are, what are your religious beliefs, what are your political views. It applies to you, right? We all so different, which is great. That's the variety. It's fantastic that we are so different, but at the same time, at the core, so similar, right? Aren't we?
Hmm.
We are so similar. And the longer I live, the more people I meet and get to know at a deep level through coaching, the more I see how similar we all are at the core. Hence, I'm a pacifist. Like wars. Why? Oh, because we believe in a different God. Okay, okay, it's okay, but like, but killing each other over this, let them believe in a different God than your God. That's no, like, okay, but so yeah, I could never understand. Well, as a kid, I would not, but like as a grown, wars, self-defense, sure. Like if someone's attacking you, yes, don't. What's that thing in the Bible? If you show another, what's
Turn the other cheek.
yeah,
Turn the
that's
other
not
cheek.
me. Yeah, that's not, I don't roll like that. No, no. Like, yeah, I don't recommend anyone trying, this with me because, yeah, there's gonna be consequences. But like, I'm not subscribing to that one. But come on, let's just like try to get along with each other, and I know it's easy said than done, and it's like one of the hardest things in personal development is to be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes when you think about it. All right. And I try, with the people I don't like, it's like, just how could this person do that or say that? I'm like, but hold on, hold on, hold on. Like, I mean, just okay, you've done 20 years of personal development. Like, okay, try to put yourself in their shoes and being in their shoes in that situation. Are you certain that you wouldn't do what they did or you wouldn't say what they said? And sometimes I'm not.
Right.
It's very easy. It's very easy for me to sit here on this, leather armchair in London, South Kensington, um, talking about how, if I was the president of the United States, I would do this. If I was the prime minister, I was like, well, but I'm not a prime minister. So maybe if I was in his shoes, maybe those things are not as easy as like, everybody's so smart, like sitting on the sofa, like commenting and judging and like, oh, like this person is so stupid. Those leaders are so stupid. So, well, I don't think running a country like this one, let alone US, or as big as China, I don't think that's an easy job. I really don't think it's an easy job, right? And even I'm not arrogant enough to think that I could do a better job. I can say that jokingly, but so what I'm trying to say, let's try our hardest to give people some slack. Let's remember that, um, if they do something, if they are not bad people, if they are fundamentally good, okay people, they're just probably doing the best. And whatever they do or whatever they say, they do the best relative to the level of experience and knowledge that they have at the time of doing it or saying it. All right. Um, there's a quote from Gandhi. He said, forgiveness is the attribute of the strong, weak can never forgive. Right. And I practice forgiveness. I hold a total of zero grudges towards anyone for anything in my entire life. Not because I was so fortunate to be only surrounded by angels, far from it. I just choose not to hold grudges and I just choose to forgive, right? And one of the techniques, if you will, that I use or tools that I use for that is what I just said. It's like, okay, this person said that was harmful, but you know what? I still don't want them in my life, like that French girl. She will never see me again. She never did, and she never will. But she didn't know any better. Relatively young, part of her culture, I think she was from Paris as well. So French, like, not just French, but Parisian, they have a reputation sometimes, French people, for like just, you, you know, being a little bit too direct, coming across a bit too direct. You know, I have one French client right now. She's absolute sweetheart. I just finished with another one, another sweetheart, right? So I know it's a massive generalization, but so like, yeah, putting myself in the shoes of this girl, that's why I was so peaceful in a way I ended the date because it was just like, she didn't know any better. But still, that was the end of the date. So what I'm trying to say is like you can let people go or you can remove people, to use a stronger language. You can remove people from your orbit, from your life, but you can still do it peacefully. You can
Mm.
still do it without getting upset. You can still do it without calling the names. You can still doing, you can still do it. You can still communicate what you want to communicate by talking about the thing you have a problem with, as opposed to attacking the person who said something that you didn't like.
Well
So
said.
right, going after the thing, not the person who created the thing or said the thing.
That's right.
All right. So like excuse me, let me stop you right here. I have a problem with your behavior, this particular behavior. I'm not saying I have a problem with you. One is like, oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. The other one is like, oh my God, I'm shit. I'm worthless. Right. And especially when we are in a position of authority. So as a parent, as a leader, as a coach, massive responsibility to be mindful of, you know, there's another good nugget that I'm sure you know of, something along the lines of like how we want to uh, praise in public as leaders, praise in public, but criticize in private, or yeah,
That's
give,
right.
you know, feedback. Let's put it this way, to give feedback in private, right? So yeah, we can all do better. I don't care how well anyone listening is doing, how well I'm doing, how well you doing. Uh, there's a quote from Ray Dalio. Can you see Ray Dalio's principles there on top?
Sure.
Just
I see
above,
it.
just above shoe dog. Um,
Okay.
there's a quote from Ray Dalio. For those of you who don't know who Ray Dalio is, he runs a hedge fund called Bridgewater in the US, one of the most successful hedge funds in the world. He wrote this book. I'm not sure if that quote is in that book, but I heard it. He said that in his 70s, as a two-digit billionaire, he said something like, I love that quote, and I still. He said, if you don't look at yourself the way you've been acting, the way you've been, like the way you were, the way you've been last year, and you don't think how much of an idiot you were, it means that you haven't grown enough. If you don't look at your past self and you don't think, what the hell was I? It means that you haven't grown enough. I thought, how brilliant. Because I know I was talking about like, oh my, I have a 10 out of 10 life, and like I've done this much work on myself, and look at me, right? Yes, I'm very happy with myself and my life right now, but you know, ask me next time we speak how I feel about this version of me, the March 2026 version of me. Ask me a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and I'll be like, AJ,
Mm. I've seen it with you. I've
there you
seen
go.
the effort. You putting the effort in. Every time we talk, again, there's
There you go.
something you've worked hard on.
There
You're
you
a
go.
different person every time we talk.
There you go. There you go. And I have absolutely no intention of ever changing that, because it's yeah, it's the journey, not the destination. I know it's a cliche saying, but I enjoy the journey. I'm not trying to arrive. I'm not trying to reach enlightenment. I'm not trying to become the best person on the planet. What does it mean, the best person on the planet? I'm just trying to be the best version of myself at all times, meaning that I'll be self-correcting. I'll be like, when people occasionally criticize me on social media on the back of some post or comment that I make, and I get trolled. I'm thinking to myself sometimes, you dumb MF, MF word. You dumb. Do you really think that anyone, especially you, a total stranger, can be more critical of myself than I am critical of myself sometimes? Do you really think that, nobody has ever been and will ever be more critical of me than I am of myself? Not in a, oh, I'm ugly or I'm stupid, not that. It's just Like, what the hell is this? Like I would self-coach myself. Like, what the hell were you thinking? Speaking to this person like that. And again, I don't shout. I don't shout. I don't swear at people. But like, what the hell were you thinking?
Mm.
Where was your eye contact when you were shaking that hand of that person? What's the matter with you? Like, I would just talk to myself like that, right? Do it better next time. That's unacceptable. Like, this is the standard. Like, just stick to the standard. Set the standard and stick to it.
Right.
Self-policing, we can call it self-policing. I do a lot of self-policing
Mm.
and course correcting. It's like, no, 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 no. No, that's not good enough. No, I would make a comment on LinkedIn sometimes under somebody's post, and then an hour later, 2 hours later, a day later, nah, it's neither funny or smart. Delete. Not because I got somebody got offended or triggered, and I don't care. No, no. If I decide that's not good enough after I slept on it, I'm gonna delete it. I've deleted some posts. I've deleted not the, I've edited some posts because I have updated my thinking. And what I said a year ago or 6 months ago or even 3 months ago, sometimes, no, I don't believe in that anymore. So let me edit it. It's not about other people, not because I got, somebody said something. Like, no, no, I don't like what I said. And because there's an edit option, I'm gonna take advantage of that option, of that feature, because it's there for a reason, right? So we can edit our thinking, right? Not just typos. Oh shit, there was a typo. No, I just okay. I don't, and I'm gonna just go back. Probably nobody will ever see that post again because I wrote it 6 months ago. Who's gonna scroll all the way? It will take a while to scroll all the way. But
Mhm.
it's nice for me because I know I said it, and now I cringe when I think about it. So I'm just gonna go and change it. All right? It's harder with podcasts. If I said something today that I'm not gonna like 5 years from now, which is very likely, too bad. I'm not gonna ask you to take it down. But if it's a easy fixable thing on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, then why not? But on a basic level, it's the things we say to other people. You know,
Mm.
we can't take those words back, but we can say, "Hey, that thing that I said the other day or 6 months ago, that wasn't cool, and I'm sorry."
Mm.
When you say sorry, say it like you mean it, or don't say it at all. Hey, that thing that I said, sorry about that. That's not a sorry. That's you said the word sorry, but you didn't apologize. So either don't say sorry, or when you say sorry, like say it like you mean it,
Mm.
and people can tell the difference. Not just people like you and I, right? Because we've done all this personal development and we are 40 plus and all of that. I believe that an average 18-year-old can tell the difference between the real apology and a fake one.
That's
They
right.
might not be able to like intellectually see the but they will feel it.
That's right.
There's gonna be a sense of like, so whatever you do, do it like you mean it, or don't do it at all. Put your heart into it. Try your best and accept that even when you try your best, um, and you are committed to trying your best and being your best, living your best life, being the best version of yourself, you will inevitably make mistakes. Accept
Mm.
that. So when you make them, inevitably, you don't feel disappointed because you were expecting that. When you think about it, we can never feel disappointed or too disappointed about something unless we created an expectation for a different outcome. Right? So,
Great point.
right, when you think about it, unless I say tomorrow I have to have a great day, unless I create this expectation, if I just say, well, I'm gonna try to have as good of a day as possible tomorrow, but let's see what happens. And then if something bad happens or the day is not great, I can't be disappointed because like I never expected that day to be I don't know what. I had no expectation from today. I didn't know we were going to talk for an hour or 2 hours. I didn't think we were going to talk for that long, but doesn't matter. Feel free to edit out half of it, 80% of it. I'll be like, okay, no problem. You know, I enjoyed myself. Split it into three. Whatever. Do whatever you want with it. This is your platform, your podcast. And I'm just a guest. I'm in your house, so to speak. So you can play whatever music you want. I won't say anything, right? But when you come to my house, I'm the DJ, right? Or sometimes like this, this is years ago. I was playing music again, nothing like controversial, as in I wasn't playing Bach or anything like that, or Miles Davis. So she asked uh, she asked if I could play a particular song. Oh, there's this song. Can you play this particular song? And it was like something like some Taylor Swift or something like that. I wouldn't like, not my. I said something like, uh, I'm not a DJ and I don't, and therefore I don't take requests. Something like that. So, again, it's like it was the first date in my house, and like, oh, can you play this artist, my music? I can't remember this album. I said, No." I said, no, no, absolutely not. My house, my rules. You don't like my rules? The door is over there. Don't let it hit you on the way out. It's like, no, oh, just no. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, okay, sure. It depends what the ask is. I had a client here, and she was hot. It wasn't hot in here, but like she just felt hot. Maybe no, it couldn't be. She's too young to go through the menopause. But she was like, Michael, and she was very nice about it, very British about it. She's British. She was like, could you please open the? Is it okay to open the? It wasn't ideal for me because I thought I'm gonna feel a bit cold, but I said for as long as I can manage it, sure. So I opened it for like 10 minutes. She got fresh air, whatever. And then when I started to feel cold, I closed it. No problem. So it's not like, oh, don't, you are in my house, don't dare to say anything. Like that's not, no, no, it's of course. Like I encourage people like, how's everything? How's your tea, your coffee? Is it okay? How's the temperature? It's like, okay. It's the way you do it. Right? I don't like this song. It's not the way to do it. After my dead body, I would accept that level of, I know it's a micro disrespect, but no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm. You know. But then what do you expect? I'm the kind of guy who goes to the restaurant. I've been to this nice restaurant a few years ago, and speaking of music, I found the music to be a bit too loud. Very posh restaurant. So I very politely asked the waiter whether they could put the volume down in the restaurant of the music because I found it to be too loud. He said, sure, sir, no problem. I said, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So he did. Would I walk out or make a scene if he didn't? No, I wouldn't. Because he wasn't like, I could still hear my date, what she was saying, but like I could feel and it was also unexpected because it was like like I said, a bit posh restaurant. I could feel the bass on my chest. So like I could feel the bass on my chest from like, okay, guys, you have a good sound system. I'm happy for you, but so it's like like I said that before. Like you think about something, and we all think, and obviously we all know when something is not right for us, when something doesn't feel right for us. It's not like some people do, some people don't. We all know. The difference is whether or not we act on it. And I encourage you to act on it. Don't just think it, oh, it's a bit too loud in here. Because I can promise you, if you feel like the music is too loud, you're not the only person in the restaurant who thinks that. But I'm often the one who's gonna say what everybody else is thinking. Because I'm telling you, AJ, and I love music, it was too loud. It wasn't like, oh, I think it was subjectively too loud. No, it was too loud. Right? Someone's gonna be sitting there for 2 hours or 3 hours, right? And being subjected to something that I don't appreciate if there is such an easy way to fix it. Just by asking politely if they could put the volume down by maybe I was specific, knowing myself, I might have been. Maybe I said something like by 20%. Could you put the volume down by 20% or 10%? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. And then he did that. He came back. How is it now? Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Done. No, where's the harm? No, nobody like. Where's?
It's about being fearless and asking simply and politely.
Yeah. He wasn't like, excuse me, do you know who I am? Like, I'm the highest paid life coach I was on BBC and of course not. I would if I did that, I never did. If I did that, my goodness, I would feel so embarrassed the next day after waking up sober. I'll be calling the restaurant trying to get that waiter on the phone. I'll be so embarrassed.
Mm.
I'll probably
Our,
go,
our,
I would maybe go there and apologize in person. I'll be so embarrassed.
our mutual friend, Steve Hardison, talks about that as well.
Oh,
Sometimes
yeah?
he has to go back and apologize. He makes mistakes and he goes back and he apologizes. And he, just like you said, which is so simple again, but we're going to
Yeah.
make mistakes. When you make them, just go back and apologize. Don't beat
Yeah,
yourself up too much. Just make it right. Learn
exactly.
from it.
Yeah. Right or wrong, right or wrong. Expect that you will do wrongs inevitably. I don't care who you are, but make it into your daily discipline, make it into a habit to right the wrongs that you make. Because again, just like intuitively we know when someone is doing or saying something that's not right, we intuitively know when we did or said something that wasn't right. Intuitively, we just know like, oh, maybe I was a bit too much. I make those micro mistakes all the time, but all the time I don't mean every day, but I don't know, once, twice a month, three times, once a week. I don't know, like micro, like little stuff. Like, And if it's like very little, it's just like, okay, don't do it again. If it's more than just a little bit of something that's not right, I will, yeah. And I don't care. A stranger, Uber driver, a date, a super wealthy client, a prospective client or client who's not wealthy at all, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Human. Oh, that's a human. Okay, that's not right. A fellow human, no matter who they are. Can't speak about animals. I don't have animals. Um, but I like animals. I've never been cruel to animal. Like that's the next level of, there's been a jerk towards humans, and then next level of that is like animals. Anything that cannot talk back or like protect itself. A child or an animal. Um, if you're a tough guy, giving if you think you're a tough guy giving a hard time to a woman, for example, well, try it with me or with AJ and see what happens. The same thing. Say the same thing to me or AJ and see what happens. Because you're saying it to her or to this child because you know that you are physically stronger than them, what they're gonna do, you know? Or you say that to your, you are some director and you say that to your intern, thinking, what they're gonna do. Huh? Like I'm the big boss. Yeah, okay. Why don't you try that with me and see what happens? Just say the same thing to me. Exactly the way you said it to them, say it to me and see what happens. Again, I'm not gonna shout at you. I'm not gonna swear at you, but I'm gonna make you feel so stupid. I'm gonna bring you down to earth. and remind you that you are no better than anybody. And part of the magic when we do that calmly is that it's a little bit counterintuitive when you think about it, or it might feel counterintuitive, is that actually when we do that calmly, it's even more powerful. I find.
It's true.
So, damn, I've been told off, but so calmly, so calmly. Now I really feel like a jerk because I acted like a jerk. If I was attacked for acting like a jerk, but he acted like a jerk while going after me being a jerk, then it's like, oh, I was acting like a jerk, but he was acting like a jerk. But like, he's done it so calmly. And he, again, back to what we were saying before, he talked about, or this person talked about the behavior, not me personally. I didn't say to her, what's wrong with you checking your phone, while you're talking to me? Do you know who I am? Like you came to me, booked a consultation. And I just said, but I still communicated what I wanted to communicate. I just said it the way I said it, which is with a smile on my face. I said it, exactly like, is, 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 uh, is this more important than this conversation? And that was enough for her to like go, oh, shit, I shouldn't be doing that, that's not cool. Well, you can bet your bum that it's not cool. Not with me anyway. So you don't like it, but um, I'm not asking you to like it. I'm expecting you to to not do it. I'm not expecting you to like, being told off for checking your phone during the meeting. I'm not asking you. I don't care if you like it or not. That's on you. But what's on me is saying when I have a problem with something. That's on me because that's within my control. What you do with it, it's on you. You decide, and that's for you. That's not for me to. That's for you to decide. But I decide what I say when something is not right for me. Oh, but
Right.
that's you're so sensitive or you're petty. He's like, okay, maybe I am, but that's also my right. Right? I dictate my level of pettiness, subject to self-correction over time. I dictate my level of quote unquote sensitivity, subject to self-correction over time. Right? And then you can either take it or leave it. If I'm too quote unquote petty for you, don't work with me. I have enough clients. If I'm too petty for you in a dating context, I have great news for you. You don't need to date me. There's lots of other options. You don't want to be my service provider anymore? Don't worry about it. You are replaceable. Just like I am replaceable for my clients, every service provider I've ever worked with or work with is replaceable as well. I don't want them to go anywhere because I love them, but if they didn't want to work with me anymore and cry about it, I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm sorry to
Abundant
hear.
mentality.
Exactly,
Abundance mentality.
exactly. I'm sorry to hear that, but if that's how you feel, no problem. I wish you all the best. Generally, and when I say I wish you all the best, when I say to someone, I wish you all the best, I mean it, or I don't say it.
Mm,
So again, it's like,
that's a good point.
if I say something, I mean it. If I and if I cannot say it with like I mean it, then I choose not to say it. Then I choose silence.
That's important right there.
Yeah. And trying and failing sometimes. Sometimes like, oh, you just said it like automatically. You didn't really fully mean it. Self-correct. Okay, do better next time. Self-policing, do better next time. Okay. Noted, mental note, as you said, but without beating myself up, because that's not a way to live, right? For us to make mistakes, beat ourselves about it. That's not the way to live. I don't want to go through life beating myself up left and right for things that I do and things that I say. And I should have done this better. And I don't. I don't want to go through life like this. right? I made a mistake. Okay, it's a mistake. What the hell were you thinking? Correct it, apologize if needed. That's it. Done. Moving on. Don't dwell on it. I say to myself, don't dwell on it for any longer than necessary. Just notice the behavior that was suboptimal, correct it if possible, make a mental note not to make the same mistake again, move on. That's the sequence. And by move on, I mean move on as quickly as possible, within days maximum, not weeks or months, and let alone years.
That's a
Jesus
great,
Christ.
that's a great
She,
formula. And that's a
yes,
great time frame as well.
just no, like um, it was an open relationship, which was a disaster. She was more jealous than any girl I was in a traditional relationship with. Anyway, long story short, um, as much as I loved her, the level of disrespect from her side, like the level of arguments reached the level that I couldn't tolerate anymore. So I had to let her go. While I was in love with her, which is quite unusual scenario, right? For anyone to break up with someone they're deeply in love with, just because they are too disrespectful, right? But I had to do it. I knew I had to do it because as much as I love this girl, and I really did love this girl, I always loved myself the most. And I let her go. I knew it's gonna be a terrible, it's like I've never tried because I've never been addicted to a substance, but that was probably comparable to like people quitting, heroin or something like that. It was like I knew it's gonna be a terrible time. I'm gonna go for a terrible patch. There was some crying the next day, a little bit of crying on my side. And mind you, she didn't want to, like, she didn't want to go. She didn't want to, she was crazy, but she loved me even more than I loved her probably. Like like she was obsessed. Like I loved her and she loved whatever. So I knew that she was one text message away from just being in front of me, right? But like I knew I had to push. It's literally like letting go of a habit. You have to push through that initial period where you are just dying on the inside, and all you can think of is that substance, or in this case, a person, right? But I just knew that I couldn't be with her because we were just not right for each other. And so I cried a little bit the following day. So the breakup took place on Saturday, cried a little bit on Sunday, and in a true Michael Serwa fashion, AJ, I gave myself a week to move on. I set myself a deadline of 1 week to move on. And this wasn't like, oh, I met this girl 3 times and I had some feelings for her. I was properly in love with her. But but I thought I'm gonna have to move on from it sooner or later. I might as well do it sooner.
Mm.
And it's the principle that we know of, we use a lot in personal development. You give someone a day to complete a task, they will take a day. You give them up. I apply the same principle over here, right? I gave myself a week to move on, not completely, but to the point where I no longer felt pain. So there was a sentiment still. Well, I will let you guess how long it took me to move on.
Mm.
And it was crazy. And I remember this is like 4 years ago. AJ, it wasn't 5 days or 9 days. It was exactly a week,
Okay.
right? But it was like in my head, it was like, oh, it would be nice if I could move on within a week. No, I was very intentional. I
Yeah, I hear
was
that.
very, I remember vividly. I'm giving myself a week to move on, and it took exactly a week. I'm not saying to the hour, I can't remember, but like it was like it felt like a week.
Mm.
And I went from I'm crazy about this girl, but I need to let her go to a week later, I'm fine. I'm 95% fine. And then within a month, I can't remember, within a month or 2 months, I was 100% fine.
Mm.
All
It's an
right.
important lesson in terms of setting deadlines to your anger, sadness,
Yeah.
setting those deadlines, whatever it is. So a day, a week,
Mm.
48 hours. You can apply that to all kinds of things.
I remember this story. Maybe this thing with this girl was partially influenced by me reading this story, maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So there was a father in the US who lost his son in a war, either the Afghanistan or Iraq war, right? And the day he found out about the death of his son, his young son, there was some wedding, some family wedding. So he found out that his son was dead, he died. He went to the wedding the same day, and people like like, what are you doing here? Like, how do you, the son, like, how do you manage? Like, you're at the wedding? And he said something like, I can't remember exactly how he put it, but he put it so beautifully. So I'm gonna butcher it, but he said something like, I I knew that if I'm not gonna move on from it, if I'm not gonna accept it and move on from what just happened, it's gonna kill me. Something like, I decided to move on sooner rather than later. Because like that thought, like, so it was just like this, like, wow, wow. I don't have children, as you know, but when I think about the highest degree of suffering a human being can endure, losing a child, it's, to my understanding, is up there, maybe the highest, right? And he really loved this son. It was like, oh, like he was one of my six sons, and I didn't have a special bond. No, no, they were very close. And then he rocked up to this wedding, and people were just confused. So would I, right? I'd be like, are you okay? Like, and he just said something so powerful. Like, I've butchered it because it's so long time ago, but it really stuck with me because I thought, well, you know, you can take a week or you can take a year, or some people never move on because they just, oh, this person said she was like when people say in a context of romantic relationships, she left me, she was perfect for me, she was my dream girl, or he was my dream. And I say, if she was your dream girl, she wouldn't leave you. You would be
Right.
together.
Right.
If you meant to be together, you would be together. If she left you for somebody else or she broke up with you or whatever, like she wasn't your dream girl. Instant reframe.
Right. One
And again,
sentence.
if I say it to a client, obviously, again, coming from a place of authority, boom, all it takes like, oh, okay, that's okay. You're right. Makes logical sense. If she was the nothing groundbreaking, but coming from the right source
Right.
at the
One
right
sentence.
time with the right amount of conviction. And people
Right.
go, you're right. Okay. And then by next session, they like, oh, that X thing, and I wasn't thinking about it. Just like that. What happened? Reframe. It's like when they say, when people say, oh, it took me 2 years to quit smoking. No, quitting smoking or quitting anything never takes 2 years. It always takes a split second. Sometimes it might take 2 years to get to the point when you are ready to quit, but quitting takes, I'm sure my female client in her head quit Coke like that. Something
Right.
I
Right.
said that landed and she just like, that's it. We didn't talk about it, so I don't know. And even if I asked, maybe I will at some point, she would probably struggle to pinpoint. But my best guess is that at some point during that first session, which lasted, I can't remember exactly, maybe 4 hours, there was something that I said that made her go, I'm done with Coke for good.
Mm.
Magic. And people pay us for this, AJ. How crazy is that? This is we can pay the bills, we can live our lives, and we can do this work that we enjoy so much. People, and why people pay us? Because it's obviously very valuable for them. How could it not be? So it's like they're not, and they don't pay us because, you know, they don't value it. They pay us because they do value it. And you get what you pay for, right? And I don't even need to compare myself to other coaches. When I talk about you get what you pay for, I can compare the version of a coach I am today to the version of a coach I was 10 years ago when I was charging significantly less. And I can see clearly how much better I am now than I was 10 years ago, let alone in 2011 when I started. So I need to like making comparisons between me and other coaches. I can make comparisons between me and younger, less experienced versions of me and see why what I was charging then was making sense then and why would it make sense now. And why what I'm charging, I can foresee like how what I'm charging now wouldn't be appropriate 10 years from now, given that I'm gonna have 10 more years of experience. Not just experience of coaching, but also just living life for another 10 years, being 10 years older. I can't wait to be 50. I know this is like, wow, I'm 43. I can't wait to be 50. I'm gonna be even wiser, even more success. Not that success is like, but I'm gonna be even more knowledgeable, wiser, have even more great people in my life, like yourself. Like, I can't wait. No problem. Aging, not a problem. I know it's like different for women. Women, but I know women. I had this conversation with female clients as well, and some many women, we misconception to or like just not true to say, oh, all women freak out about aging. I've met women who just doesn't bother them. So it's like one of like those cliches, like the French are arrogant. Like all the French, come on. The Polish people are hardworking. I, I'm sure that's not the case. I haven't met a lazy Polish, but just kidding. It's illegal for us to be lazy, as you see. They would revoke my passport immediately. If the word got to Warsaw that there's a Pole in London who's lazy, who's slacking, they would just revoke my passport, and I would have to apply for the British one. It's against the law in Poland.
I like
Like
that.
one of my clients, my female clients, was telling me how late at night, petrol station. She got out of the car. Seven Eastern European looking guys. She's English. Seven Eastern European looking guys approaching her. She got scared. She called her husband. He was in the car, but he couldn't see it. So he came and everything was okay, right? But I made a joke. I said something like, um, you said Eastern European, but you also said seven. And I thought it would be statistically impossible for seven Polish guys to do nothing at the same time. Just hanging out, looking for trouble. Impossible. Maybe one, two. But seven Polish guys in London, or she lives just outside of London. Seven Polish men doing nothing. That's statistically impossible. Because it's like there will be either life coaching, doing podcasts at what time is it in London? 10 past 9 p.m.
Wow.
They'll be either podcasting, they'll be either doing, painting or decorating, they'll be working in a restaurant, they'll be doing long hours in a bank somewhere, but seven of them, seven of us doing nothing at the same time, impossible. That's just impossible. But it's just like one of those generalizations, that, women like men this, women that, Chinese people this, Muslim people that. It's like, come on, guys, come on, come on, come on. Let's be better than that. Let's be just more open-minded than that, not to fall into this like because other people are saying it, so we are repeating it like parrots, like come on.
Well said. Where can people find you, sir? Online.
Michaelserwa.com. And then from there, the icons to my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my YouTube, link to my book, um, everything that I've done can be found either on my website or through my website. Everything I've created in terms of content, whether it's written content or audio content, video content, etc.
Oh, excellent. So many gems today. One of my favorite interviews in almost 200 episodes. And hopefully we can do round four next year, yearly tradition. I like that you said that.
Anytime, anytime.
Oh, I appreciate it. You're better than ever. Every time I talk to you, you leave me better than you found me. And looking forward to the next conversation, sir.
Likewise, AJ, thanks for having me for the third time, and I already look forward to our round four.
Excellent, sir. Till next time.